welcome to episode 164 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at December 1990 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 68 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles and albums chart that month. Graham, the end of the year is almost upon us. Does Santa have some pleasant treats for us, or is it lumps of coal to bash our eyes out with?
Jingle bells, it's December 1990. Prepare for fingers going numb, faces starting to glow, and in a pre-LED Christmas-like world, the painful search for replacement tiny screw thread bulbs. Yes, it's the season to be jolly, and in a month that also saw the world's first website and server go live at CERN, we jump, shoot, and puzzle our way around some hyper-colourful looking and incredibly well-coded levels on the hunt for monsters, witches, and our fuzzy friends in the impeccably programmed Creatures. And then slip on our ponchos, light the tip of our dirty rollies, grit our teeth, and head into the wildest of wests for some rooting, tooting, shooting, but not fluting shenanigans in Outlaw. December in the 1990s, long before they started selling Christmas decorations in September, and when Quality Street came in a metal tin. It was even darker and colder at 4 p.m. I'm pretty sure it was. Anyway, while we reminisce about the sheer prevalence of artificial Christmas trees in the 90s compared to the real ones, we opt to go for an exciting race around a stunt track in 3D. And after we've finished playing Stunt Car Racer, we load in Domark's awful C64 3D racing glove slap for some crappy Hard Drivin. After that, and once the nightmares have settled, we pop across to the magical land of Inappropriate and check in on the latest naff idea turned into a game in the Joe Blader-like Prison Riot. Christmas in the 1990s was always good fun. Heading to the pubs as a thirsty teenager, breaking numerous drinking laws, and who can forget your first Christmas Day hangover? Ah yes, here's to the gut-wrenching beer breath, naked morning after poos, and Christmas dinner meat sweats. Bring it on. Father Christmas you're used to.
Well, you never know. You never know who you're going to get. Sometimes it could be good, could be good Kris Kringle or bad Kris Kringle or Krampus. You never know.
Well, it depends what you've been doing. If you've been if you're not on the good list, well, expect bad things, right?
1990, I'm going to get coal, I think. Yeah, I just turned 18.
Yeah. Mostly bad things, I fear.
Mostly bad things. Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed your Zap-free week last week. We'd been on holiday, basically.
On a break. We were on a break.
Yeah, we were on a break. So, yeah, we had holidays in different weeks. We didn't plan it very well. We're terrible like that. You know, how dare we? But, you know, it is what it is.
We don't holiday together or anything. Just to be clear about that.
we like Morecambe and Wise. I've said this before. We go to that Riviera touch. That's what it was. But no, so we've been on holiday. But we're back. And now we're through to the end of the year. We've got 3 episodes for December.
3?
So just 3. Three episodes done. We've split it up a little bit just because I start back at work teaching and stuff. It all goes crazy in September for us work-wise because of our jobs and stuff. So we've split it down and sort of lowered the number of games each episode. So there's only 4 games. Only 4 games each week, but it is fair. Yeah, because it's fair.
It's fair. It is fair. It is fair. It is fair.
Before we get to the cover, there's a few things that I'd just like to mention. Did you see that the C64 version of Spelunky came out? That's quite cool.
I did. Yes, I haven't played it, but I saw that it's come out.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I'm just impressed that they managed to get Spelunky on a C64. That's pretty incredible. I mean, so
they're very talented, aren't they, people?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that Cannibal and stuff like that. I always wonder as well what happened to that version of Limbo that kind of appeared and then...
Well, in an ironic twist, it's in Limbo.
It's in Limbo, yeah. But well done to the people. I should have done some more research. I basically just looked and saw it and went, wow, that's cool. But well done to those people who made Spelunky for the C64. That's pretty impressive. I don't know who you are.
Do we not know who made it?
Done. No, I can look, I suppose, but, you know, you look, and I'll go on with the next bit.
I'll look.
You look. Because the next one I want to say is, did you see that there's a Last Ninja collection coming out?
I did see that, yes. I did.
Yeah, with some kind of Last Ninja 4 in it.
Yeah. Is there more expansion of the Last Ninja universe required?
I mean,
he's still the Last Ninja, right? So he's just kind of doing Last Ninja stuff.
Yeah, but I suppose, yeah. I mean, there was whatever. But I was kind of weirded. I was kind of odd. The Last Ninja collection, if you're looking to buy that, there's a lot going on there, a lot of ninja stuff. If you like your ninjas, you can get more of them.
It's reached kind of a crazy level of hysteria about The Last Ninja. I mean, let's not, pretty game. There's some amazing stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, but come on. There's problems with that game. Having to go for a poo every time you want to pick anything up as a ninja is never good.
Having to line your arms up as you bend like in an S shape.
Exactly.
Can't pick this up. Damn it.
The only ninja costume that's got buttons on like push buttons on the back, so you can just pop open the flap and do a poop when he needs to.
Yeah, true. And he's got the entire island to himself now, hasn't he? The island of whatever they call it, because there's no more ninjas. You can poo wherever he wants.
Exactly. He's the last one. And remember, he's the last one because he wasn't there when all the others got killed. Yeah, it's not true. Like, so he's, he wasn't there. You weren't around when you were needed.
It's Last Ninja by default.
Yeah. I did see that. And by the way, the Spelunky is code and graphics by Paul Kohler, according to the...
Well done, Mr. Kohler.
So I think it's Paul Kohler. I think I'm right. That's how you pronounce it anyway. But we can put a link to the paulco64.itch.io/Spelunky64 page.
Yeah, we will do.
In the show notes.
Because it's quite the achievement. Because Spelunky's a great game. It's a great game.
Yeah. It does look it.
Well done there. The other thing, I just want to... And this isn't a retro thing, because I was flabbergasted this week. Did you see that the PS5 Pro's been announced? We don't normally talk about modern stuff, but did you see it's been announced?
I didn't even know there was a PS5.
There's a PS5, PlayStation 5. That's been out like 4 years. Where are you, man? It's been out for 4 years.
I was joking.
But anyway, or 5 years in. Was it 19 or 20? Anyway, the point is, there's a PS5 Pro that's now coming out.
Right. What's Pro about it?
Well, I'll come to that in a minute. To say what isn't Pro, £700.
What?
£700, and they've removed the disc drive.
Right.
So if you want to buy it, if you want to get the disc drive, that's another £100, sir. And they've removed the vertical stand, so that's another £25. So if you want the whole, about £825, €800 if you're in the mainland Europe.
What?
$700. Well, it's just crazy. Do you know what it does?
Who's
Do you know how they sold this? Well, you can tell I'm annoyed. They sold this by coming on and going, "All those games in the PS5, all our games, you like them, don't you? They don't run very well, so buy the new one. They run better on this." It's like
that's no way of selling a PS5.
It's literally what they did.
They
went, because you can either have performance mode at 60 frames a second or non-performance mode at 30 frames a second, where you got all the graphics. But it's a bit jerky and a bit rubbish. Like, you're rubbishing your console. The main console, it's just all like 60 million of them.
I mean, are they like serious with that? I mean, that's
yeah.
Is anyone going to buy it? Who's going to buy that?
Probably lots of people. But November it's out. £700.
That seems like a lot for a game. I mean, the games aren't cheap either. They're what, £100 each now, something like that.
Yeah, and they showed it off. They showed it off by a compressed. It was on a YouTube stream, just to show how the graphics are better. Best way to do it is on a YouTube stream. Just like, what's going on with the world?
Yeah, exactly that.
I had to get that out of my system because it's been annoying me all week. Because it's like £700. Are you mad? To be fair,
to put it into perspective, they just announced the iPhone 16, and it's £1,500-1,600 new.
Yeah, well, that boils my bacon as well.
Hey, they announced it under a rainbow. That's nice.
Of course they did. An Apple rainbow.
Yeah, it's all AI powered, the new iPhone, you see.
Oh, so's the Google 9, isn't it?
Oh, should I say it's AI or Apple Intelligence to you and me?
See what they did there.
How smart is that? Yeah, crazy good that.
And what Google got? Gemini AI.
Yeah, it's all so clever.
They are. You can see why they earn all this money, can't you?
Oh, geniuses, absolute geniuses. It's the same as the new Mac operating system. On a Mac, you can't just pull USB things off a Mac. It goes mad. It says, no, don't do that. You must eject it properly, which is fine. On the new iOS, the version, I can't remember what it's called now. It's got Sequoia. It's called. You have to right click on a Mac and go to eject device. But now underneath that is erase disk. It just seems very dangerous to put those things so close together. Call me old fashioned.
Wow.
So some genius probably hasn't. It's the same guy who put the charging port for the Apple Magic Mouse in the middle of the mouse at the bottom, so you can't use it while you're charging it. Same genius, I think, who did the erase disk button next to the eject disk button. What could possibly go wrong? Why
have you put this on there? It's Apple. We can do what we want, and people will love it.
People won't erase their discs. They might if you put the erase disc anyway.
Yeah, true.
So what a week it's been. Crazy week then, really.
What a crazy week. Yeah, because that price, that thing, I suppose it's not as bad as those. What was that Apple Vision, the £3,500 stupid goggles?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry if you bought any of this stuff, but good Lord.
People do buy stuff. I mean, it's, and it's, early adopters, great. Appreciate all that feedback that you don't give, apart from, this is fodder for influencers to just annoy the shit out of me on YouTube clips I don't watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's been, and then all it's done, this power of AI creation, it's just destroyed YouTube. It's now full of AI voiceover clips of complete nonsense. It's ruined the world. Don't do that with it. Do good stuff with it. Figure stuff out with it.
See, this film would have not been, to Terminator would have not been half as interesting if the AI just basically, it was a film about, it came back in time to destroy YouTube.
The Terminator came back as an influencer.
Yeah.
How boring would that be? It's just like selfieing himself in front of a fountain.
Really dull. Really dull. It's like YouTube is these days.
Are you going to kill John Connor? Nah, I'm just going to influence him to wear stupid clothes and then ridicule him online for it forever. I suppose it'll work.
And I'll program 1,000 bots to do the same thing.
Stupid AI nonsense. Go and get Spelunky and play that instead.
Indeed. Anyway, there you go. That's our rant. Oh, got one last thing. Oh, an important thing, actually. Thank you very much, Runester71. Didn't leave a message, but you bought us a coffee on Ko-fi.com.
Oh, nice.
So thank you very much for that. It's always good. We always appreciate those kind of gestures. So
thank you very, very, very much.
Runester71, you're a star.
You are a coffee-related star. Thank you.
Indeed. We will enjoy our Ko-fi.
We shall.
It's the new month, Graham. So
it is. Yeah, December. So, we're nearly at the end of 1990. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. I can't. It's like a traveling back in time. We've got a cover to look at. Let us look at that cover.
I'm not looking at the top left corner already. Get rid of that.
Well, you don't have
box. Get rid of it.
You don't have to actually, because this is actually a good cover.
Yeah, apart from that box, which ruins it.
I know, the box does ruin it. I've no idea why it's there.
It's so stupid. Get rid of it. It covers up the helicopter, which is really cool.
The actual design of this is one of the better covers we've had in recent. Lots of action.
Yeah,
so it's to do with the Chase HQ2 Special Criminal Investigation game. So you've got the Honda NSX, I think it is it?
Looks like something like that. Yeah,
but it's got NSX there, so I presume it's Honda NSX. Yeah. And a guy with a rocket launch firing at a helicopter, someone flying out of it. There's people on bikes firing guns. It's just crazy. It's a good action-packed cover. I like it. Good use of colour.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That red really pops.
And not a lot of text either. Did you notice that?
I did, yeah. They've kept it minimal this year. This month, haven't they?
Good, because it was getting out of hand.
Absolutely. In fact, it kept it so minimal you can barely notice the word Creatures, the gold medal game, down the bottom right.
I didn't even notice that, to be honest. It is green on, like a green colour on a dark. It's almost unreadable, really.
It is, yeah. It is. But obviously the Ocean game has to get the cover.
Oh, of course it does. Yeah, I forgot it was an ocean. Of course it's an Ocean game, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. But I do like it. It's a good cover. As we normally say, lots of kinetic action.
It is. And that one particular, I mean, there's more headshots and gunshots going off on that than a Mission Impossible movie. So.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. There's that guy on the back, looks like he's wearing glasses though, instead of a helmet.
It does. Does it seem weird to you that they've got their first cartridge review when cartridges have been out in the C64 since 1983?
Yeah, but did anybody aside from Commodore ever release anything on cartridge?
Yeah, maybe it's their first cartridge review, but it seems odd that it would be. But I
don't think anybody was releasing cartridges. And I presume we've got that bloody 64 GS, whatever it was.
Yeah,
that's appeared,
hanging around somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. But there was also a Mega Tape. Did you play the games on the Mega Tape?
I didn't actually, because I didn't fancy them.
I did. I played them all.
Oh, and was Connect 4 any good?
Very basic, but it played a game of Connect 4, which I won. I was happy to win a game of Connect 4 against a stupid computer. Don't play it there. I've got 4 in a row on the next go. Nobody would do this.
You don't think there's any intelligence applied to that, It's just like, where I go there. You're playing bloody Gary Lineker.
Probably. Con 4.
Connect 4 what? Oh, God. It's going to take ages, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was Connect 4. Tunnel Vision, somebody at Hewson had played Pit Stop 2 and then just changed it into a futuristic racing thing.
Right, okay.
Very much like Pit Stop 2. It's quite smooth, but the really blocky graphics for the crafts that you're creating.
I didn't try that. I
but,
did find
not
it.
Not too bad. The best one, obviously there's Hacker 2 on there. I didn't try that because we've done that before. Rolling is an actually pretty decent version of Amidar.
Okay.
If you remember Amidar.
I remember Amidar, yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty decent version of Amidar, which I quite enjoyed my time with. I had a bit of a play of that today. I was like, oh, this is all right. It's Amidar.
Not bad for free, I suppose. Not bad for free.
No, Amidar's always good. But yeah, Amidar, that rolling one was the one I played mostly, apart from Gary Lineker's Connect 3.
Gary Lineker, so I Connect 3. It's Connect 4, Gary. You can't win with 3.
Connect more? I don't want to connect more.
I only got 3. You've got loads of tokens. Oh, you stupid man.
Oh, Gary. Gary win? No. Gary lose.
Gary never win.
Because you stopped playing at 3. Oh, poor old Gary. Anyway, there you go. There's the cover. And I had things to rant about, but there we go. We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Anyway, so
ranty pants.
Indeed. Should we get in some games? We've got 4 to get through.
It's what we're here for, isn't it? Really.
It is generally what we're here for. So, okay. So enough of that frivolity. Let's get to the games. And it's over to you for the first one, Graham. This is the gold medal for one of the few gold medals we've had this year. This is Creatures. Tell us about it.
So this is it's one of the big C64 games. People talk about Creatures a lot. Go, ooh, Creatures. Have you seen Creatures?
It is, yeah. Say its name with reverence and pride.
Yeah, it is. Say its name with reverence and pride. Random. So this was $9.99. It might have been more on disc. It was out on tape disc, and I also played a cartridge version. I'm guessing there's a cartridge version as well, but I don't know if that's a real cartridge, a make-believe one. It had extra bits on it, though, which was weird. But I think they're the disc ones. Anyway, what does it matter? So Creatures there, 96% gold medal.
Ooh.
So I didn't think you got... they changed it, didn't they? So you could 96%ers could get a gold medal. All right. And Creatures, just so you know, is an abbreviation. So it is. Of Clyde Radcliffe exterminates all the unfriendly, repulsive, earth-ridden slime.
Wow.
No DNA in the Scotch cadaver. That's exactly what that is. So obviously this is published by Thalamus, developed by Apex Computer Productions. That's the Rowlands. John and Steve Rowland.
Good old Roland.
Good old Roland. Roland, why have you stolen all the chocolate bars out of the lorry, Roland? Not that Roland.
Not that Roland.
Not Roland Browning. No, this is the Roland.
Stephen John.
They made Retrograde, Scorpius, Cyberdyne Warrior. You remember them?
I do, very much so.
And they go on to do other cool stuff. There's a little manual blurb that'll go along with this, and then we're going to talk a little bit of technology, and then we're going to talk about the game itself, because there's a little bit to go through in this. So I'm not going to try and go on for too long with it, but there's a little bit to get through. So it's a gold medal game, so we have to give it a bit of credit. The plot then. Out in the nether regions of deepest space, in the far bottom right of the Milky Way, lies a small, insignificant little planet named Blot. Although a pretty place, it's deserted after its inhabitants were forced to flee from an awful fate, being called by such an unhip name as the Bloatians. Not very nice.
No.
As soon as they were able, they built a crude but sufficient colony ship and spluttered off into space in search of a trendier planet. Until such a place was found, they renamed themselves as Fuzzy Wuzzies in search of real hipness. They were the original astro hippies from hell. Okay. Okay, we'll keep going. Unfortunately, a collision with an asteroid led to a crash landing on Earth. What? As luck would have it, they landed on some blue wobbly stuff, commonly known as the Pacific Ocean, more commonly known as water, but okay, next to an undiscovered island.
Ooh.
After the Fuzzy Wuzzies swam ashore, they promptly began building a village and named the island the hippest place in the known universe. Okay, it's not a name.
Catchy.
Catchy.
I'd have called it Chuzwuzzer.
Yeah, I'd have called it Fuzzcrack. But that's just me.
Get him out of the room. Get him out of the room.
He's not the namer of things.
Told you about him.
What the Fuzzies didn't know was of the existence of the non-too-hip and ever so slightly irritable demons living on the far side of the island. These demons were more than a little peeved by all the noise made by the cheerful Fuzzies, not to mention madly horrified by the new island name. Well, we're all on that page. The demons came up with a cunning plan to put an end to the commotion and the general good time being had by these intruders. They invited them to the biggest party ever held on the island. Fuzzies cannot resist a good party, and all of them, fur neatly brushed, attended. Just as they were starting to enjoy themselves, the demons threw a net over everyone and carted them off to the torture chamber. Oh dear, how could anyone wish to hurt such cute creatures past the chainsaw? I don't know where we're going with that. The only one who wasn't caught was Clyde Radcliffe, a tanked-up little fuzzy who was decorating the bushes with carrot pieces. The next morning, Clyde woke with a splitting headache and the remains of camel's armpit on his tongue. Okay. Needless to say, his breath was so bad it could strip paint at 50 paces. Nevertheless, our courageous little hero vowed to destroy the demons and rescue his fellow fuzzies. And therein lies the place where the game is going to happen. Okay, gameplay then. Each stage in the game represents part of the island. Once the end of the stage is reached and completed, Clyde enters a witch's hut. Inside is a good witch who has a fuzzy fetish and offers to mix magic potions which, when drunk by Clyde, give him special weapons. However, to enable the witch to mix any potion, she needs ingredients. These are in the form of magic potion creatures found during each stage. It's important for Clyde to collect as many NPCs as possible before entering the witch's hut. The more NPCs you have, the better the weapons potions will be. Once 2 stages have been completed, Clyde will have to rescue one of his buddies from a torture chamber. Don't do it, Clyde. I don't know why it says that. A successful rescue allows you to continue along with any NPCs. The Grateful Fuzzy donates to your cause. I won't go on about the other features of the game and stuff because I'm going to talk about that, but that's basically the premise of the game. A kind of classic premise, but creatures on an island, jumping over things. We've kind of seen this kind of thing. We know this is Mario, this is Gianna Sisters Territory, this is that other game that looked like those, but I can't remember the name of.
Terry's Adventure, wasn't it?
Terry's Adventure, yeah. Now, so the first thing that is interesting to note is actually, I found a really interesting interview that was never printed in the pages of Commodore Format Issue 1, which was from a guy, I wrote his name down somewhere, I'll come back to it in a minute, but it was basically an interview, and the reason I mention that is because I didn't realise that this is heavily influenced by an arcade. Now, I didn't know that. And the arcade it's influenced by is something called Wardner or Mr. Wardner. Oh. Now, when you get a moment, go and check out Mr. Wardner or Wardner Arcade, and we'll put a link in the show notes. And you'll see it is an inspiration. Now, it's not a pound for pound copy. It's not like that, but it is. You can see where they got the inspiration for this game.
Wardner, Wardner.
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah. Wardner, the arcade. Yeah. So from the start, there's nice production. I mean, there's no denying that. This game is really, really well put together. Really cool for screens, really bouncing cartoon graphics, big, bold logos, characters, great music. This is a professional looking game, and it sets that stall out really early. Now, depending on whether you try the disc version or the tape version or whatever, you'll get a varying different types of loading screen and beginning to the game. But either way, all of those things look really pro. One of them I had a graphic that said Clyde needs your help on. One of them actually looked like a potato in that. I don't know why, but anyway. So I actually tried the disc version, which might be the cracked tape version, and a cartridge version, which might be the cracked disc version. It's all very complicated, isn't it? But I tried as many different versions as I could for reasons I'll come into in a little bit.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And also, I think this game came actually with a fuzzy wuzzy toy. So you got a fuzzy wuzzy to because there's care instructions for it in the manual for the fuzzy wuzzy.
Oh, so I've read that.
So you get little care instructions about how to look after your fuzzy wuzzy, which seems weird that they would put that in there, but it's there. And I think if I remember rightly, there's things in there like beware placing sausages in front of your fuzzy wuzzy as it thinks sausages are natural enemies and will attempt to outstare it, and be careful how you groom your fuzzy. I'm just not sure where they were going with all those, but anyway, it is what it is. Now, so you get this really nice, attractive title screen. It spells out the whole, the Clyde Radcliffe acronym, whatever you want to call that, whatever they call it as titles, I can't rename it. Mm-hmm. All really, really colourful, all really bouncy, all really lively. The polish is high already at this. Really nice typefaces. It's extremely well put together. The game itself is a side-scrolling platform, jumping, shoot 'em up, collect 'em up type dealio, really. Set across 3 very lengthy levels in 2 stages each, with some neat-ish, cartoonishly sadistic mini one-screen rescue games amongst that as well. They call them torture chambers. There's kind of little bridge bits in between, and you've got the, sort of the collection screens and the witch's hut. It's quite, it reminded me a little bit of the structure of a whiz ball. There's little component parts that all bolt into bits, but it's quite nicely done. Mm-hmm. You control Clyde Radcliffe with the joystick. Clyde, can we surely call him Clyde, Mr. Radcliffe? Seems weird to have a real person name. Anyway, you control Clyde with the joystick and traverse the colourful scrolling landscapes on the quest to rescue your fuzzy friends and destroy the demons, obviously. You can move Clyde around. More jumping than walking in some ways. Left and right, up for jump. A short hold of fire will shoot your weapon, whichever weapon you happen to have. We'll talk about the weapons in a mo. Longer hold will allow Clyde to use his terrible bad breath, which comes out like a jet of flame.
It does.
So pulling down on the joystick and then pressing fire will present you with the weapons tablet. Keeping fire pressed, pulling left and right will enable you to view the weapons, and releasing fire will select the chosen weapon. And I'll come to how all of that works and manifests as we get to that part.
Mm-hmm.
Positioned at inconvenient locations all over the platforms, caves and hotspots are the magic potion creatures, which you can collect as you plod ever onwards, while these build up and will, once you pass all of the stage completely, allow you to exchange them with the witch, as I've already explained, for upgrades and new weapons, and we'll go through that a bit. And it wouldn't be very interesting, would it, in a game like this, if all the stages weren't filled to the brim? And this game is filled to the brim, let me tell you, with enemies of various types, sizes, strengths, and movements to make your journey extra difficult. And, well, I guess creatures by name, creatures by nature. There's loads of sprites in here, loads of characters and creatures, all different quirky sort of things, all over the shop.
Mm-hmm.
So one game you can say is chock full of things. It really is.
Chock full.
The graphics for the background are excellently realised, with some really clever coding going on to allow lots of colours all over the place. There's a lot of clever coding technique going on here, and I'll come to one of the key ones as well. This coding technique and this methodology leaves this game looking at the top of the tree in the C64 land. This game looks amazing. Now, if you compare it to some of the other crap we've had to play, it looks amazing. But
yeah, it does.
It is amazing. Every level looks really, really well created, well crafted. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it looks amazing. And they've got lots squeezed in. According to that article I mentioned, which was by a guy called Andy Roberts, there's 15 pieces of music, 10 character sets, which is 2 per level. Each level is 50 screens long, split into 2 halves. There's 30 to 40 sound effects and a staggering 1,100 sprite images in that game.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's quite a lot crammed in. Quite a lot in there. It is. Each of the 3 stages is themed slightly differently too, and they all feature some really neat spot effects as well, parallax scrolling in some of them, some nice waterfall graphics and effects, some really neat touches. There's some clever raster splitting going on this game, I can tell you that much, to get the kind of different color effects in the background that they've done and the levels of parallax. There's just some astonishing trickery going on. In fact, the whole of the screen is used for the game, leveraging the clever, but not without controversy, technique known as VSP, which is, it's a very clever effect. It essentially means you can scroll the whole of the screen on the Commodore 64 using a very minimal amount of cycles. Indeed, this is actually explained better by somebody called Linus Akerson, who also, by the way, solved a problem with it. So it says, according to Linus on his website, one of the tricks you can do on the C64 involves manipulating the video chip into reading the graphics data at an offset from where it's usually located. This allows you to scroll the display horizontally, and the trick is called VSP, which stands for variable screen position. However, some machines crash when you attempt this, and the reason was originally a mystery, but he actually goes on to figure it out and solves what the mystery was and figures out a way of doing this without crash, which you can go and read a very technical blog piece about. Now, the reason I mention that is because this game has a problem, and that problem is that it crashes and can crash randomly on certain C64s because it uses VSP.
Oh.
VSP doesn't occur in every C64, and it's just a quirk of using a DO11 register in the way that you have to do it with this, and it can cause a problem. Now, there's a really brilliant dissection of the game creatures by a YouTuber known as Shaylan. And Shaylan is a YouTuber that I've mentioned before now. He does these amazing 3-hour takedowns, or did. I don't know if he still does them, but there's an entire dissection of how creatures is put together. And I can tell you it's an amazing technical masterpiece. But it does use that technique, and that technique does give the game some limitations. First limitation is that it doesn't scroll the entirety of the screen. In fact, it cleverly actually, when this game, it actually scrolls one block of horizontal characters, so one column, if you like. And then because of the trickery, you can then move the entire screen, but it's got to be cycle accurate. The other caveat here is that the bottom of the screen, so in this game where you see the black area at the bottom, where you've got the UI, such as it is, that is actually full of junk characters. So you have to just cover that in black. You can't put anything in there because you'd actually see them. It's a junk character in there. And then they've obviously just used sprites to kind of, put the overlay on. But there's junk characters in there. And if you'll notice when you're playing the game, the sprites can't go over the horizontal raster line at the top because it's just impossible. It can't be done.
Yeah, they bounce off the top of the screen.
So when you get to the top of the screen, you're not going to be able to jump up any higher in the screen because that's the VSP stopping it. It's just a limitation. But what it does allow is for the entire screen to scroll pretty fast, which it does, which is great. Complicated effect, but it's not without its problem. And that's, like I said, the key problem there being that it can make the game buggy. Now, I have to say, I encountered that bug on every version except the cartridge one.
Oh, right.
So it just crashed periodically. And that could have just been a quirk of the emulator. I don't know for sure, but it's a known thing to happen. Okay. The 3 stages, by the way, they're called Lily Lakes leading to Caves of Slime. That's stage 1 and 1.1 and 1.2. Stage 2.1 and 2.2 are Maniac Meadows leading to Piranha Ponds. And in those levels, by the way, you have to swim under some water and you have to watch your air. He has like a bubble of air that's around him. So there's a little bit of extra dynamic. Again, I think they've been playing the Mario games a bit here by this point, probably.
Yeah.
And then stage 3.1 and 3.2 is called Gruesome Graveyard, followed by Creepy Castle. There's massive nods to both Cauldron and Ghosts and Goblins in those levels, without a doubt.
Yes, yeah.
At the end of each second part of each stage, you'll encounter a boss, which are pretty challenging. Generally speaking, they're a larger thing. Now, in this game, larger things can be expanded sprites, but they just about get away with it because of the kind of quirky characters and the quirky sort of nature of the game. So you could sort of let it go. They're not as ugly as I've seen expanded sprites, but that is what they are. But they don't use a lot of them, but that's kind of how it's been done. But they are challenging, and if you destroy that, you'll enter the third stage of each one, which is where you get the torture chambers. Now, there's 3 torture chambers throughout the game, and each one is kind of a one-screen, I wouldn't say puzzler, but one-screen game where you've got to complete a series of things to prevent one of the fuzzies getting murdered horribly by some, nefarious means. And normally that means they're trapped in a machine of some description, whether it's a chainsaw or a sawmill type thing. And if you don't complete the series of tasks in time and prevent the fuzzy from getting killed, they'll get chainsawed or squashed or whatever there might be in the torture chamber. You've got to complete those sequences to get through to the next bit of the game as well. So it's not like you can skip them or fail. So you've got to actually do them. Because if you don't, back to the beginning of the game you go, because you've only got so many attempts at doing it. You'll go through those. The graphics on those parts actually really nice, quite quirky, funny. Again, really colourful stuff. You've got amazing combinations of purples, blues, yellows, browns, greens. The colours are amazing on those levels. They really are clever, really clever. And the puzzles, I would say, they're not rocket science, but the time is quite tight on them. So you just got to do a few things before the time runs out. All right, whatever. Very Warner Brothers, I thought, very Roadrunner inspired. I mean, even a couple of them got Acme machines on and things like that. So you can see the spirit as that is. And okay, there's a lot of comment on Lemon and a few other places I've seen where people are, they're side-splitting, hilarious. I'm like, I haven't got that far, but they're funny than Monty Python was, the game, anyway.
That's not hard.
Like I said, the witch shop that you get to, it's well realised, I guess, simple and easy to use. I'm not sure why the witch looks like she does in it, though. She's kind of wearing a Coco Chanel little black dress with heavy cleavage and such, but all right, whatever. But at that point, it'll display the amount of magic potion creatures that you'll have picked up throughout the game, which is kind of the point of the game. So the aim of the game is to get to the right and beat the bosses and rescue the fuzzy wuzzies, rescue your friends. That's the idea of the game. And you scroll along. It's not push scroller because it scrolls with you, but you can't ever go backwards, can you? So you can only go forwards.
You cannot. Is that a thing of the VSP because it can only scroll in one direction?
No, VSP can go either way. That's just the way they've done it in this game. Yeah. So
it's like Mario, isn't it? You can't go backwards in Mario.
I think that's really where the inspiration for a lot of this has come from. But so you'll go to this stage and then the witch will say, hello, fuzzy wuzzy, aren't you nice? Would you like some extra weapons? And you'll go, that sounds like a good idea. And then you can buy extra weapons depending on the quantity of the various magic potion creatures that you've picked up, hence the reason it's important to get to them. The weapons are varying, actually, and there's some interesting stuff in here because you can get what's called a droopy, which is a standard shot that travels downwards. There's a super droopy, which drops a bit more because in this game you can be on platforms and you have to shoot kind of below you and things like that. And I'll talk about why that's kind of annoying in a minute. There's fireballs, fall-ups, wigglers, curly-whirlies, flamers, scatterball information. This sounds like the current top 10 list off Love Honey, but that's what they are. And then once you've got those, then you can utilize them. Like I said, you hold to press down on the joystick, push your button, you get the sort of chooser up the list, and then you can choose which ones. And then some of those are applicable to certain places, not places in the game, but there are certain places where you'll need to use different kinds of techniques to shoot. And so you might need the one that shoots slightly downwards or one that shoots straight out and things like that. Most of the enemies in this game are really just kind of they follow sort of certain patterns. So they're not always kind of running at you or anything like that. They're just kind of running into certain formula, but they are sometimes in the bloody way. And they all seem to take way more hits to die than they should.
Yes,
they do. So you can spend a lot of this game just stood shooting at things, waiting for them to die. And some of them, you have to shoot both things. You have to shoot one thing till it flashes, and then go and shoot the other thing that's connected to it because you can't kill it until you kill them both. Now, in the first level, or the first part of the first level, for example, there's a giant balloon thing that's dropping bombs on you. And now, if you get hit by anything, you get kind of a stunned moment of being stunned, and you get like a second chance. If you get hit again, you're dead. So you go back to the beginning of that stage.
It's the Ghost and Goblins. You lose your armor.
Yeah, so you lose your whatever your clothes. Yeah. So you get that kind of one-shot deal. Now, generally speaking, that means games are going to be quite hard, and this does fall into that category with that. But that's how the game plays out. So the idea is you don't have to challenge every enemy. You can just watch for timing and kind of avoid them, but you are on a timer in this game. You've only got so long to get to the end of the level. Otherwise, if your timer runs out, again, see end of life and what happens with that. Run out of lives and game over. If you do die in this, if you're not far enough into the stage, you will start back at the beginning of that stage. So you've got to try and progress at least as far as you can. I think does it start you at the B? If you die towards the end of the first part of the stage, it will still start you at the beginning of the first stage. It's only if you make it to the second part that it starts from part 2, I think. I can't remember.
I think there's checkpoints within the stages.
So, all right. So it just start you at certain points, not necessarily always at the beginning, which is okay. That's fine. So you'll get the upgrades, and then you've got to try and do this. Now, the levels are long in this. Like I said, 50 screens is a lot, and it takes a while to go through them, not just because you're jumping around and things like that and sort of not trying to avoid things, but because you can't necessarily walk in the way that you would expect.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to like in that respect. And like I said, the game principally plays out that way. You'll work your way through all those stages, all the way things. And at the end, there is an end sequence, which you'll get to if you complete all the baddies and get to the castle, beat the final demon. There's a bit of an end where there's a final torture chamber. If you rescue all the fuzzies out of that, then there's like a quirky ending, which, I'm not going to spoil it. Go and play it if you really want. You should play this game. It's pretty good like that. But there's loads of sound effects and music in the game. That's excellent throughout. There's tons of it in here. Everything seems to have a theme. Indeed. And also, I noted that you can play sound effects and music at the same time in the game. Golden Axe, take note.
Yes. Yeah, you can.
So it can be done. So all in all, you've got a polished and well-presented game here. It oozes professional, high-quality code. Graphics, amazing. Sound, really good. It's about as slick as it gets in that respect. The characters and sprites are well-animated. They all look really good. Even when there's a leaning on the blocky side, like I said, you can still get away with that because they're still kind of quirky looking and pretty good. It's a clever move, I think, to try and do the graphics like that here. Because of the nature of the game, you kind of get away with it. I'll let you off.
Yeah.
The level graphics and colours, like I've said, are exceptional. Very clever scrolling. Indeed, like I said, from a technical point of view, this is probably one of the best C64 coded games I think I've ever seen at this point. There's clear passion and dedication for the C64 woven all the way through. Every pixel counts in here, and it has to because of the nature of that scrolling. That scrolling tells you can't do that unless you have pixel accuracy and cycle accuracy in this game, which shows you that somebody really took the time with this. So even the little torture chamber levels, I think they look really good as well. In fact, it all plays pretty amazing at that point. However, there are some things that bugged me. Now, this is probably going to be controversial. I'm just going to lay this out there because I know what people are like. Get very attached to some of these games. And I'm not saying that it's crap because it's not. Far from it. But not being able to walk up things in the game is a pain.
Yep.
What do I mean by that? Well, you have to jump around all the time in this game. That's kind of the main mechanic, but it makes navigating the platforms way more painful than it needs to be. And I think it gives the game a really unusual stop-start flow. Now, it's not a thing, because in Mario, you can run about and you can go up slopes. So you can climb up slopes and do mini hills and things like that and run up them. Here, you can't. You stop and you have to jump up everything. Now, I think that's a bit of a blocker. When you consider the VSP scrolling on display, that means it can just scroll whatever it likes. The fact that you can't walk over hills, which is something they could have probably implemented pretty easily, seems a bit of a misstep to me. I know on the later levels, you get a broom, you can fly around, you can head underwater, but I don't know. Basic walking, shouldn't that be a thing in a platform game that you can just do?
Yeah.
Okay, remember, these are niggles. These are things that bugged me. Some of the pixel-perfect jumps required pixel-accurate landings, which I think can lead to frustration on a game where your principal control mechanism is jumping. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes to get to the magic potion creatures, you got to land precisely on certain edges, and it's not always easy to do. It's not a deal-breaker, but you've only given me the ability to jump really to get anywhere, and then you've made landing on things awkward. I think that you bounce off the underside of things, and sometimes the pixel collision is it's not in your favor always. So you'll sort of go through something that another three attempts, you'll land on it. You think, well, that's weird. And the difficulty is quite high too, maybe a bit too high. I mean, granted, my hand-eye coordination, I've made no secret of it. It's crap-hole, it really is. Maybe that's at fault. But you can quickly find yourself losing lives in this, even with that little mini shield, with the fact that you can lose your clothes if you like. It's also hampered by how many of the hits some of the enemies take, which I found to be one of the bigger problems of this game. Now, yes, you can change and upgrade your weapons, but you don't start that way. But the enemies start with at least, requiring at least 50 hits, it felt like. And that's every enemy. So you've got to continually either hammer them or use your breath all the time. When using your breath isn't as easy. You've got the joystick button down and it unleashes a little blast. So you spend a lot of your time hopping up and down, just trying to get things to hit something. And you're doing that a lot in this game, which breaks the flow. Now, remember, these levels are pretty long as well. So to be doing that over and over again, stopping, I've got to shoot this enemy, so I've got to hop, jump up, get one, hop, jump up, I made it get up. And you find yourself maybe having to hit these things 6 or 7 times. That's quite a lot. So I found that it lengthened the game and it detracted from the sort of fun of it a little bit. And I know that there's more colourful things on other levels and things like that, and the backgrounds get different and you've got all that sort of stuff going on. But you're doing the same thing over a lot of these levels, and it's a long thing. And that, I don't know, death can lead to sort of those restarts at the different sections, which means you've got to think. It's not so much that the travelling in this game is a pain, although it is a little bit. It's more if you die, you've got to think, I've got to go back and I've got to shoot those enemies again, which take 50 hits each, and it takes time to do that. Mm-hmm. And just think, did they really mean for this game to be me going from left to right, just stopping and jumping and shooting, stopping and jumping and shooting, trying to land on things? Or was this meant to be a game where I'm meant to try and tear through these levels like Mario as fast as possible, leaping and flying about? I don't know. And they kind of do that in Monsters in Mayhem Land, what it's called, Mayhem in Monsterland later. So I wonder whether this is maybe like an early version of some of the code they needed for that. Anyway, they're niggles, they're just niggles. I didn't notice any slowdowns or graphic glitches. You're not going to get any in a game as technically clever as this. And you progress through the long levels, I don't know, it's more jump than walk with some occasional variety, I guess. So, okay, that's fine. But this game can also crash on some C64. Can you imagine getting to the stage 3 of this and the game just locking out?
No.
Can you imagine how angry that would make you? I mean, like I said, there's entire tech threads all about it, but they made this game was published knowing that that's a possibility. Okay, so I know, and maybe it's a risk they wanted to take, and it clearly was, but to gamble that really. So all that said, there's a lot more to like than loathe with this game, and that is true. At a time when the C64 is second fiddle to 16-bit machines, this is a welcome showcase for the C64's amazing capabilities in the right hands and with the right game. Looks and sounds really brilliant. Really stepping up what can be shown on the C64, and we've seen some proper dog eggs. So this is what a proper 1990 game should have looked like all along. When we entered 1990, this was the kind of thing I was expecting. But now we're in December, so technically this is more 1991. But this is the kind of thing I was expecting of the C64, not some of the utter drivel that we've had to experience. The only niggles here, the game design is lacking. It's all a bit one note, this, in the main. I mean, you've got those torture chambers. They do liven things up, and you can't help but feel as, you try and plow through that. At certain times, this feels like a bit of an endless grind to get to the end. And the purpose of that is a little bit lost when it's just the payoff isn't quite there. I don't know. And that's even if you can get to the end, because you need a good memory, good reaction times. And if the game decides that it's going to crash, well, maybe you also need some tolerance for that. I like this game a lot, but I didn't love it. I felt it was schooling other C64 game developers. There's no doubt about that. And it's, that is to be commended. The Rolands are showing just how talented they really are at this point. And then they go on to prove it even further. However, for me, this is just edging on the dry side of game design, and then tries to be funny on top. Much of that sort of doesn't land for me. The creatures aren't that funny. They're not doing that funny stuff. The dialogue around them isn't that funny. And they're just kind of, not quite gremlins. I don't know. So some of that doesn't make sense. And I felt that maybe, for me, this was just a little bit hit and miss. More hit than miss, but there are still misses there. And those niggles were bothering me after a while, which is a shame. What about you?
Yeah. It's the second game in it from a second original game. We had that Cyberdyne Warrior, but that was done the year before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this is the bookend. Basically, the bookended the year, aren't they, the Rolands?
Because they're
retrograde in January, and then we've got Creatures in December. So, and it's another technically impressive game on the machine. And you've spelt that out, but I'll just sort of focus on that from the start. From my point of view, obviously probably won't go into much detail as you did, but this is technically astonishing. I mean, it really is. It's hard. It's a standard left to right horizontal platformer. That's what it is. But the use of colour and animation and all the denizens of the world, it's brilliantly done. Really clever, really good. And it's just, it's just as it was in Retrograde as well. The technical chops in Retrograde, we said, were incredible.
Absolutely.
The amount of stuff that were moving around on the screen. Like that as well. There's no high-res stuff here, but they make the medium-res work in a way that other designers don't do. They seem to fail at. These guys make it work. It looks coherent. Everything looks like it's part of the same world.
It does.
Which I think works. Is a really sort of hard thing to actually pull off, but they do that here, and I think it's really good. The landscapes of the caverns are solid, well drawn. The sort of levels themselves, the controls, they're responsive, as you'd want in a game like this. But I don't think that's the issue. The front end's great. Music and sound effects are, again, very nicely done. Being able to have them both at the same time, bonus, that's always great as well. Behind the scenes, this is another technically accomplished game. And yet I didn't really have any fun playing it and found it a bit dull overall.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I can see that.
And I'll come to why. I mean, the things you've outlined, it's too prescriptive. The first level, the game is too prescriptive in the way you have to navigate it. It's like there's no improvisation. There's no getting by this bit and doing this and pulling something off by the flat. In Mario, driving around, you're like, but you fall here, you'd be dead. There's no, you go through it in a set way, you're dead. If you don't, you're dead. Or you lose your life and you get hit somewhere else and you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's two stop start. I mean, years later, sort of thing, we'll play Gears of War, which is stop and pop, or as they used to call it, stop and pop, which is fine, but that's that kind of game. It's cover shooter. This is a platformer, and there should be some pace here, but it's not. It's way too stop start. Loads of times you're just having to stand around and just fire shots at enemies, or wait for your fire breath to charge up, which you can't walk with. When you start to fight, you start walking. The only way you can do it is to jump. So it's a weird control mechanism. I don't know. And for me, it ruined the flow of the level and the game. There's no flow to this game. There's no flow. It's just do this, do that, go there, get that. And like you said as well, the difficulty is quite high. It's not Deliverance high. It's not Stormlord 2 Deliverance high. I mean, that's ridiculous. But it's still high. And I got quite far into it. I just left a bit bored. And it's like some things you said as well. Trying to get on some of those platforms was way harder than it should be. Having to sort of... There's one right near the beginning where you have to jump to it, but you've got to get to the top of that peak, which you've got to jump up because you can't walk up slopes. And then you have to... You kind of walk off into the air before you jump to actually make that jump. And if you don't, you'll fall. And then you have to jump back up the slope to try and jump again. You'll fail. You jump. And it's like, but you need to go there to get the potion ingredients. That's why they're there. They're in hard to reach places. But I think they're in too hard to reach. It's annoying.
Yeah.
The shop itself, like Retrograde, well done. I don't think it needed a sexy witch character.
No.
I mean, I'm just looking at the screenshot. It says, I hope there's something here that takes your fancy. It's like, oh, God's sake.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, whatever, but it's just didn't need it. So to put that, I mean, it's all immaculate in its visual design and coding. The torture screens are solid puzzles. The big lettering you get when you do them, it's all well done. I cannot fault the technical chops behind this.
No,
and I can't. There's nothing there. But the fact that I just didn't really gel with the actual platforming, which is the main meat of the game. Maybe that's me. I don't know. You had the same problem. Maybe
I had the same problem.
It's just too slow and ploddy, and it's too tight. The play area is too tight. It's not enough. Like you said, you often just jumping up and hitting your head and popping back down, and like just I don't know.
Notably, in the Mario game, that isn't something you encounter. You've always got, unless they're doing a deliberately tight version.
Well, if you do, you hit your head on bricks, and usually you head above them and destroy them, and you get coins.
Generally speaking, in those open land levels of Mario, you've got a lot of space to jump around, and it's encouraged. And these games need that. You know, otherwise it becomes exploring in like a mini cave environment, and it doesn't suit this kind of game. So.
Yeah, so I think to me, I wanted to like this more than I actually came away doing it. And I'm not knocking it because, I can see why it got the 96%. I can see at the time because this would have been a solid like ba-thump. I think Retrograde's the better game because I'm not going to make any details about. We'll come to that probably in the Bread Bin Awards in a bit. But for me, it was. But this is technically incredible, no doubt about that. But I think you've rightly pointed out all those foibles and the things that make you go and they build. These things build one after the other. And when you, like you said, when you die and you have to go back to the beginning and you have to do all those things again, like killing that first balloon creature.
Yeah.
You kind of timing your jump up to do your fire breath on it about 2 or 3 times. And then there's that one running across the bottom and you're like, this is dull. This is boring gameplay.
Yeah.
And so that's why I thought, but I like my platformers are just a little bit more pace, a little bit more freeform.
Well, I think it doesn't help that the payoff for your collection of those extras doesn't happen until the end of the level. In Mario, if you get a power up, it happens there and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need to be powered up in this game instantly. If they'd have done that, I think it would have been a little bit better. So you could activate powers there and then, and you could then blow things up and move through the game quicker. But this just collecting things for a long time is kind of boring.
Yeah. There's a great oral and visual feedback of getting a star in a Mario game. And you're running and you're plowing through stuff and things bouncing off and you've suddenly got that power and like that. And I think I think that's a good shout. If those things to collect, they're hard to get, but they instantly make you better, faster. You can have a different fire. Giving you an extra bit of armor or something.
Delaying gratification in a Mario style game is a fatal flaw because it just means that if you take that bit out of Mario, even Mario would struggle to be interesting if you took all of the power ups out.
Yeah, Yeah, it would. It would. Oh, well, there you go. Creatures. I think we agreed why it got its score, but I think in retrospect, I think it's...
Yeah, and they do better. They clearly learn from this because they come back with Monsters in Mayhem.
Well, there's Creatures 2 as well, but that's
Creatures 2.
Torture Trouble. Is that just torture?
Yeah, it's more of the same, I think, with a bit more torture-y stuff in it.
Right, okay. Well, I think we'll get that. We won't, I don't think, get to Monster in Mayhem Land.
No, it's out in 93. I don't know if it's in Zapped.
Yeah, no, it's not reviewed in Zapped, so we may never get to it. We may look at it, see what happens down the line.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. There you go. That's Creatures. Interesting. Yeah. That's the first one for this month and this episode. We still got one more to get to before the break, so let's move on to that one. And this is a budget game. This is Outlaw. £2.99. It's from Players. Indeed. And Players have been the home of some, interesting budget titles. This is Outlaw. So this is weird, actually, because looking at this seems to have started out life as a game called Wanted.
Right.
That was originally released on the Amiga and the ST in 1988.
Okay.
And it was published by Infogrames. So for some reason, Players then, there was some kind of 8-bit ports made in 1990 for the Spectrum Amstrad and, of course, the C64. I don't know why. It just was. Every reason it was, and here we are. So I'm going to say friend of the podcast. He's given us some money. But I'm not going to let that cover this. Philip Ruston, who gave us a code for the other week. He's responsible for the code, visuals, and sound effects for the game. And the music was by Sonic Graffiti.
Yeah,
who seems to be, according to Lemon, Gerald Gorley.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if Sonic Graffiti, were they a collective like the Maniacs of Noise?
I have a feeling it is. I think so. I think it is.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, on to the game. There is a story for this, of course. I'll just read that. So this is Arkansas, 1880. You're the roughest, toughest bounty hunter that ever toted a shooting iron, but all is not well. You've lost all your money, your horse, your saddle, and even your name. In a crooked poker game.
It's a man with no name. Oh, okay, right.
Literally. All you have left is your trusty 6-shooter, a fistful of bullets, and a colourful woven poncho.
No pants?
No pants.
No wonder he's an outlaw.
Just said he's got a trusty 6-shooter. Oh. Yeah, right. The only way to crawl out of the gutter is to round up the gang of bandits that have been causing troubles in this 2-bit town for far too long. You look at the wanted posters outside the sheriff's office. There they are. 4 of the ugliest, meanest, and deadliest varmints in the West. You decide
the many faces of Samuel L. Jackson, I think.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit. You decide to go after them. There's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 on those heads. Dollars. And you sure could use that sort of money to probably buy some pants. This sure isn't a job for Greenhorn's partner. If you get all 4, their boss will be paying you a visit. And he's going to be real furious. He's going to want your blood. And some folks say he's faster and deadlier than a rattlesnake. So you better be ready for a final showdown at high noon. When the smoke clears, who's going to be left standing? You or him? Absolutely. This features, Graham, atmospheric realism, coin-op style action, and 4 thrilling levels.
Atmospheric realism sounds like an Enigma album. I don't know where I'm going, but everyone's gone green.
Shake me, shaman. Oh.
That's what they're all like, isn't it? Stupid. I hate them. I hate them stupid things.
The game loads. Finally, we get an arcade-style title screen. Because this game is a version of a game we've already seen on the machine.
It is.
I'll come to what that is in a little bit. At the top, we get the name of the game, decent large-style font, Western-style landscape through it. I did like that line, that logo. I thought it was good. We've got the high score table and the credits. The music from Sonic Graffiti is okay. Not sure it really fits the game.
No, not at all.
But it's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right. It's nothing remarkable here. It's a nice title screen, nice arcadey title screen, decent enough for a budget title. Pressing fire starts the game, and this is where we get to choose our target for the mission. We get our 4 targets. According to the instructions, they are Mr. No Name for $5,000, Scarface Sam for $10,000, Joey the Kid for $15,000, and $20,000 just has no name. Just ran out of names.
That's 2 of them with no name then.
I know. I don't know what was going on at this point. You move a target around and shoot the one you want to tackle, with obviously the lower target being the easiest. That's the 4 levels, basically.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, I'm just going to say this at this point. For some reason, and in contrast to all the other versions, the targets here are all black. They're all black people.
They are.
Which I don't understand, which is, through a modern lens, as we sometimes say, is questionable at best, I should say. I get Commodore Brown, and then we do that, but when all the other versions haven't done this, they're Caucasian people, they're white people. It doesn't make makes this game of a white guy going by the cover chasing down 4 black criminals.
Yeah, it's not very diverse, is it?
No, and I don't know why. I mean, it's an odd choice because the character graphics don't look the same as what they do on any of the other versions. So it's an odd choice to do that, but it's a weird one. Anyway, selecting one of them starts the game, and we then say basically it's Gunsmoke.
It is.
So it's Gunsmoke essentially. So it's an auto-scrolling vertical walk and shoot that sees you wandering through various brown and grey landscapes, shooting varmints until you get to the end and try and take out the target, commando style, really.
Yep.
There is a little bit more to this, though, because the UI at the bottom of the screen shows, and this is the UI is actually in the bottom border, which is a nice tech touch.
It is.
We always like to see that. There's your ammo, and your ammo does go down as you play it, so you can't go crazy. So you've got to be careful with your ammo. So there's sort of like a bar of like bullets, and they'll slowly go down as you shoot more and more. Then there's your score. There's the enemy target's health, and that's the bad guy at the end of the level. There's your number of lives you got left, and then there's 5 letters. Those letters are B, D, P, S, and R. And each one has like a very small vertical bar underneath it. Okay. Now, as you progress through the level, you can shoot barrels, which will reveal various pickups. And these are, so there's quite a lot of these are hearts. These give you an extra life. There are boots. Now, these give you extra speed and increase the bar under the letter B. So the higher that bar, the faster you move. Rifles, these increase the distance of your shots. They increase the bar under the R. The pistol, which gives you extra bullets and increases the bar under the P. There's ammo, which refills your ammo. There's a shield, which makes you invulnerable for a short time. There's dynamite, which by pressing the space bar acts like a smart bomb, and that increases the bar under a D. And there's stars, which make your bullets more powerful. And that increases the bar under the S. Quite simple to understand. I mean, everything works, but it's quite a nice power-up system. You can kind of see where they are and how much power you've got in each one. There's also coins. They have letters on them, and you can shoot them to cycle the letters. So if you need to go a bit faster, you need a bit of dynamite, and you shoot it until the D appears and then collect it, and it'll increase that one in its own. So there's a nice weapon progression here. Which is, there's quite a lot there, which just I don't think this was in the original Gunsmoke, this kind of thing, or maybe it was, but it was so crap that I don't remember.
So.
But for a budget title, there's quite a lot to go at here. There's quite a lot of sort of strategy and things to do and shoot and things like that. And there's also a skull, but you want to avoid that because that basically lowers every letter by 1 point if you collect it. So you'll find yourself slower with less power, with less bullets, and so that avoid the skull when that appears. So, because you start off this game, actually quite interestingly, you shoot in 3 directions. That's some 6 shoot you've got. You fire
that's a bit weird.
You fire 2 shots vertically up and 2 shots sort of diagonally either side going upwards.
A bit odd.
It is, but, I'm all for power in games. So, it's just shooting along. But I think there's a reason for that. I don't know if that was a thing from Gunsmoke. I don't think it was. But it makes taking out some of the... So you start off shooting the 3 directions, the up diagonals, and the controls are standard 8-way movement, as you would expect in a commando-style game, except you're always facing up. Now, I think that's why they've done the 3-way shooting, because you can't turn to the left and right like you can in any other kind of... Now, I don't know, was that in Gunsmoke? I can't remember if that was the style. I can't remember. The 64 version was so shit I blocked it out of my head. But it makes taking out some of the the enemy varmints quite tricky. Especially when you get to the commando style ending of the level and loads of enemies pile in from all over the place, and you've got to be at the bottom of the screen because you kind of only fire in upwards in 3 directions. You can't fire directly left or right. Well, they can do that. They can shoot you from the left and the right, so it makes that bit a bit tricky. But it is what it is. It's an arcade version, should we say, and that's what this is. The levels themselves, they're mostly brown and grey, sort of background graphics, but I suppose that was the colour of the Wild West at this point. It's brown and grey. They take place through towns and canyons, railway sidings and the like. There's not a great deal of variety. They're not particularly interested. Like I said, it's very brown and grey, but they're quite well drawn. The sort of the buildings in the towns that you go past, or the sort of canyon sides, or the things that are there. They're all right. The enemies are various commando-style characters. Everything's single sprite. Your main character single sprite.
Yeah.
So they come running on, and they're just running from the sides and the top. They mill about until you shoot them. They'll fire at you. The AI is, I don't think there is much, but they just sort of mill about basically and try and get in the way. They're not that hard to shoot. Once you start powering up your weapons as well, that it's actually quite nice because you get double shots going in all directions, or sort of in the three directions, and they go quite far if you cycle up the rifle a bit. And so you are actually quite powerful, so that's quite good. And you've got the dynamite to blow everything up as well.
Yeah.
There are also sections that see boulders or barrels roll down the screen at you, and the boulders you just have to avoid. You can shoot the barrels to knock them back a bit. They will still continue down. You don't destroy them, but you can sort of boost them back if you need to quickly get out of the way. It's quite nice. It adds a little bit of variety to the levels when you sort of not just shoot stuff, but having to sort of avoid things as well. There's contact with anything, enemy, barrel, boulder, bullet, anything. It'll take a life off you. Should you lose them all, it's game over. And you get to then put your name in the nicely done high score table, which I quite liked. All good. The challenge through the levels isn't too bad. It's not that hard. The fourth level is, though. It's rock hard. So if you choose the 20,000 one immediately, you'll be like, oh my God, like I did. It's like, this is way too hard. Go do the 5,000 one. You're like, oh, this is nice. It's all right. It's easy to get through to the end. I got through to the end of most of the levels. But like I said, the fourth level, the number of enemies on screen is as many as it can throw at you, and the rate of fire is ramped up, so it's easy, and it's tricky to get out, even through that opening section. Because the problem is that you would expect as you play through these levels, if you play from the first one, you would take the power-ups with you into the next one. You don't do that. You lose everything, so you start each level basic, with everything
vanilla
down at thing, which is annoying, and kind of. You kind of does away. You might as well just start with the 20,000 one and see if you can get to the end, because you're going to be exactly the same as you would be if you went through them all anyway. It doesn't really matter. And that's kind of it, really. It's a Commando variant, a Gunsmoke clone. That's what this is. It is, however, better than the Gunsmoke conversion that we looked at a while back. It's way better. It's much, much better, this. The targets, they leave a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. I've mentioned them. But the game itself is a perfectly competent budget shooter. It's challenging, even if it's a bit one note, maybe gets a little tedious after a while, but it's £3 and it's a version of Gunsmoke. And it's, if this was the official arcade conversion of Gunsmoke, I think this would have done better, because it's a better game than that one.
Been worse.
It's a decent little shooter, this is, so I'm not going to be too down on it. It's got some nice tech as well. Like I said, the scrolling's all right. There's a little bit of raster flicker at the top, but the scrolling is pretty smooth. There's the stuff in the border. I didn't even though there's quite a lot moving on screen, I didn't notice really any flicker or slowdown. So this is decent for the price. It's a decent budget little vertical scrolling Commando variant Gunsmoke thing. I had a bit of fun with this, but on the whole, it's a £3 budget game, and I think it justifies itself quite well for that. What about you?
It was competent enough. It's inoffensive, bit oversimple, I suppose, in many ways, in sort of its presentation. But for £3, it got a bit harsh treatment, didn't it? 42% though.
I think it should have got more than that.
It got 90% in one of the Commodore magazines. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Maybe not that high, but it's a bit of it's an over brown game, a little bit
brown.
But the graphics are okay. They're like little mini Clint Eastwoods, aren't they, romping about, which isn't such a bad thing. I don't know. I just found that some of the logic of it was a bit odd. It reminded me of the Outlaw game that came with the shoot 'em up construction kit. That's a very similar sort of thing, although that's actually a bit more graphically interesting in some ways. But again, for £3, who's going to complain, really? You've got it's basically Commando in the West. And I wasn't so sure about the 6-gun that fired 4 bullets at once, because I think, well, hang on a minute, something not quite adding up here. But at the same time, I don't know. They've just implemented a more simplistic. It's a shoot 'em up at the end of the day. But you could put spaceships in here and you'd have a shoot 'em up.
Yeah, because it's continually scrolling, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not bad. There's 4 levels of. It's like I said, I managed to plow my way through loads of it. It's not like it's going to take you that long. It's not that hard.
No.
But at the same time, for £3, it's passable enough and good fun, and the music and sound effects weren't too bad. So it's all right. I'd have given it more in the sort of maybe the 60s, 60s odd. Towards the 70s for something like this for £3. I'd have had fun with it. It was harmless enough and competently enough to put together to make the actual version of this game look stupid, which wouldn't be that difficult because it was really crap.
It was really crap.
So at least somebody somebody came and saved the day a little bit and showed that a version of that was perfectly achievable on the C64.
Yep.
And this is a good version of that, all said and done. So I quite liked it. It could have been a little bit more Western sounding, but they never seem to get that right in these ones, did they? Other than that, I enjoyed it. It was all right.
There you go. Outlaw. It's not bad. For £3, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there we go. Right, that's it. That's our first 2 games out of the way this week. We are going to go away. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, well, we've got the Christmas time singles and albums to look forward to. Who knows what will be number 1 for Christmas? Who knows?
Sounds like a load of jingle bullshit to me, but okay.
Well, we'll find out after the break. See you in a bit. And we are back. Let's get straight into it. Graham, first 3 weeks of December 1990 saw Vanilla Ice with Ice Ice Baby. It is cold, so probably
just go
why.
away. We'll look at the bizarrely enough an album of this tomfoolery, but he didn't get permission to use that song from Queen. That's just astonishing. The balls, the ice balls of the guy. Anyway, less said about that, the better.
Yeah. Removing Ice Ice Baby for the Christmas week, of course, is Saviour's Day by Cliff Richard.
Yes. Open your eyes on Christmas Day. Buy my singles, please, on Christmas Day.
The video's not very Christmassy, is it? He's just walking along a cliff. Cliff on a cliff.
Cliff on a cliff. Smoking a spliff. Maybe. No, he wouldn't be doing that.
He wouldn't be doing that. No, he'd not be seen doing such terrible, unchristian things.
There's just lots of him standing in a Christ-like pose on the cliff. It's just, I don't know, something weird about that.
There is. Did get a screenshot there of him sticking his thumbs up in some kind of, hey, Fonzie pose.
It's got that. It's like, so what's got 2 thumbs and likes to sing on a cliff? That's me.
It is. I just, although it is written at the coming of Christmas, the cliff shall arrive with a maudlin piece of twaddle and bestride the charts. Happens every year.
And I just think, I'm looking at him thinking, get a proper scarf. You're on a cliff edge, it's cold. Clearly, they've bleached out really weird that they've bleached out the colour on it to give it a kind
really
of a
bleached. Yeah,
it's meant to give it. I think it's meant to give it a kind of heavenly glow and make it look a bit colder and wintry because it's clearly filmed in the middle of summer.
Yeah,
so that's obvious. It doesn't look wintry enough. We're releasing it at Christmas. I don't know. We can't put snow in it. All right. Well, make it look bleached.
Just turn it up. More bleach.
His jacket's the same colour as his teeth and his thumbs, which is weird.
It's not a good video, and it's a crap song. In complete contrast, I'm booting this off number 1 for New Year's. The New Year number 1 was "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter" by Iron Maiden. I love it. If anything says Britain, it's like we all get a bit Christian at Christmas, and then we go mental for New Year.
I can't believe that they even got to number 1 with that New Year. Goodness me.
I love this, the transition of Cliff Richard to Iron Maiden in 1 week. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I mean, it's not a nuanced song. I'm using the word nuanced again. I used it too much last time. It's not very subtle, is it? I use the word subtle instead. It's not very subtle.
Subtlety's not Iron Maiden's forte, is it?
Chorus makes you laugh like, bring your daughter to the slaughter. All right. Okay.
How long did it take you to write that? What rhymes with daughter? Slaughter. Daughter. Bring her.
Bring it to the slaughter. All right, Iron Maiden. All right. Fair play. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then release it the week after Christmas so that all the Iron Maidenites go out and buy it.
Yeah. Fair play. Yeah.
And then it gets to number 1 for the New Year. Crazy. Number 1 album all month was the Immaculate Collection still by Madonna.
Yeah, inevitably, really, Christmas that.
Yeah, that's everybody had that under the tree, I'm thinking.
Yeah, totally.
Somewhere or another. Every house in the country had it. Must have done. 2nd of December, let's get into some singles. Well, it took a while because at 2nd of December, in at number 6 was Saviour's Day by Cliff Richard.
It was all through December people were listening to that song, and now it's haunted us ever since. It comes out every year, doesn't it?
Yeah, he always does. Mistletoe and Wine, Saviour's Day. He's got a whole raft of them.
The Lord's Prayer that he released.
Oh, he did. He did that, didn't he? Ugh.
Yeah, he did. Ugh. To the tune of Auld Lang Syne. Weirdly. Auld Lang Syne already existed. You can't just usurp it.
And it's for New Year. It's not Christmas.
Honestly.
I don't know. Number 9 is Justify My Love by Madonna.
Yeah, it's off the album, isn't it? It's one of the original tracks that's on a compilation because the rest of it's all the old songs stuff from the first couple of albums. So saucy, I suppose.
It is a bit saucy, isn't it? I found it a bit dull myself.
Lenny Kravitz written and sings on it, doesn't he? And probably did other things to it as well.
Probably.
It's an attempt at being kind of sleazy and demure, isn't it? But it's actually boring. And when I listened to it again today, I thought, I know I'm going to give it a proper listen. I listened to it the first time. It's a track I'm quite familiar with. But I thought, what? Because she's saying other things. I want to do this, I want to kiss you in Rome. And I was thinking, what is on that list of things that because I thought, what's on it? It's really boring, isn't it? I want to kiss you in Rome. I want to go through your garden shed and look for all your albums. I'm going to mow your grass. It's like, just these really boring things. And I thought, and then it reminded me, there's a it came up much later, but there's a really good, if you want to listen to a dirty dance track, go and listen to Bilingual, the Dirty Mix by Jose Nunez featuring Tania. Go and listen to that, because that's if you're going to do a song that's kind of saucy, that's the one. Let's do it like that. Much better.
Fair enough. In at number 12 is All Together Now by The Farm. You didn't like this, did you?
No.
I don't mind this song. It's the only Farm track I do like. It's a nice song. And I'm not going to be grudged.
It's because everyone likes Cannon by Pachelbel. Everyone likes it. There isn't. But that's the tune to 1 million weddings a year, probably more.
Probably, but this has got a nice sort of motto. The video's nice. It's it's all about the Christmas and the sides kicking the football about and stuff in the First World War. It's all right. You're
not getting confused with the Pipes of Peace by Paul McCartney.
That is what this song is about. That is what this song is about. If you listen to the lyrics,
no, I don't. I can't. I don't really like it. I don't generally listen to it.
That's fair enough. It's fair enough. In at number 13, though, we can probably agree on this one. This one's for the children by New Kids on the Block.
No. What are they at the beginning? Those weird exaggerated clapping they're doing in silhouette. Nobody claps like that. No one does it. Nobody does, and nobody ever should. No.
Bloody awful this was. Just so bad.
Did you notice in silhouette they all look like each other? It's like that's clear evidence that that's one clone.
Yeah.
They're cloners.
New clones on the block.
They are. I mean, there's probably some deep meaning behind it all, but I can't get past that really weird clapping. Nobody claps like that. No one claps like that. No one.
Only clones do, because they don't know how to clap.
Clone clap.
Clone clap. Clappy clone. I'm a clappy clone.
Clappy clone. Clone clap, everyone. Clone clap. Clone clap, clappy clones. How do you clap? I don't know how to clap. That's how we know you're a clone, because you can't clap. They just go, whoa, do a really big exaggerated clap. It's a clone. I knew it.
Who have we got in to teach them how to clap? What's his name? Gary Lineker? Oh, this ain't going to work.
Gary Clap. Oh, there we go.
Clappy Gary. Number 20 is Pray by MC Hammer. We got to pray. We
got to pray that we make it today.
Make it where? I always think they're on a car journey. I don't know where they're going.
Just don't take a really good song like When Doves Cry by Prince and just do that to it. That's not creative, what you're doing there. I don't care what he thinks he's doing. It's not. And where do they all learn that stupid dance? They all do the same dance. They're doing it. There's a number of videos where they're doing the same dance. I hate it. I hate that stupid song. I hate the stupid idiot that's in it.
True. Number 22 is Situation by Yazoo. This is weird. Why is this?
It's weird that it's out. I don't know. It was odd.
I kind of know, because this was originally Situation. It's a 1982 single by British synth pop band Yazoo. Because you put the video and I went, that's Vince Clarke. He's in Erasure now. What's going on?
Yeah.
The song was released in the UK as the B-side to Yazoo's debut single, Only You, which went to number 2 on the UK single chart in 1990 and again in 99. The song was remixed by several noted DJs, including Peter Rauhofer and Richard Humpty Vision. The 1999 remixes were released to dance clubs. Yeah, so this was clearly just a dance remix of it.
Yeah. Well, it won't be as good as the original.
Probably not. No. In at number 24 is Mary Had a Little Boy by Snap.
Something's gone wrong. Something went wrong. They learned about Christmas in a different way to me and you, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So listening to it, I was thinking, this is a Christmas song because it's been released at Christmas.
And it's about Mary.
And they're singing about Mary, but I'm not so sure they get it. Something went wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't understand it.
Well, they were mixing up Mary and the Nativity with Mary Had a Little Lamb, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's all part and parcel of the same thing. I don't know. It's not a Nativity I had any part in as a young kiddie. So.
No. And at number 35 is All My Trials by Paul McCartney.
I don't know. It's a wobblehead song, obviously. But it's not about anything. It felt to me like I was watching a charity record that was looking for a charity to support.
Yeah, quite possibly. It might have been about one. I don't know.
I don't know. It was about something, and whatever it was quite heart wrenching and tough. They're just not sure what that was.
No. I noticed there's no sign of the wobble-headed one in the video.
No. At that point, his head was so wobbly that he had to spend a month just having a de-wobbling done to his head.
Yeah. That's a no more nails his neck.
Well, he'd spent too long with jaw wobble. So they basically had a wobble off, and it never ends well in that situation. So he was in recovery for quite some time. Yeah.
Number 34 is Lose Control by James.
Oh, somebody did.
Bit boring, isn't it?
Very dreary.
Yeah, dreary. Number 40 is Disappear by In Excess.
I wish it had.
Yeah, I mean, you've quite rightly sort of observed here that this is In Excess channeling Simple Minds, and I was like, I listened to it, I'm like, good lord, yeah, it is, really is.
Yeah, it's not very good, and it's basically a Simple Minds song, and not very good like
that. I'd properly tuned out of In Excess by this point. I had no interest in them.
Yeah,
couldn't be doing with them.
And I just noticed on the next song that we're going to talk about, something he's written that's really confused me. It made me laugh.
All right, yeah, because this is number 45 is Crazy by Seal.
And you're never going to survive in this world unless you get a little crazy, right?
Yeah, so good pop song, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, look, I put in it, he'll do anything for a fresh fish, you know. And you've put, he will clap his hands, bark, roll his neck to look at you backwards, and it's cracking me up. I'm like, what?
That's what seals do. They do that thing where they sort of roll. They kind of roll the neck, don't they? And go, look. You've seen that seals do that. They do that.
I'm going to say yes because I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but then maybe I've just not observed as many seals as you. I mean, I've seen them rolling around and barking at each other and rolling around, and that sort of thing.
They clap their hands and
see all
fins
that,
and whatever.
I get all that, but I don't know about this rolling, looking at you backwards thing. I'm like, what? Sounds complicated.
Yeah, roll his neck. Well,
look at that one, rolling his neck to look at me backwards. What?
I was thinking of a third thing that seals did.
Balance balls on their noses.
That's too obvious. I've seen them roll their necks to look at you backwards. Do it all the time.
That seal's wearing a roll neck. He's looking at me backwards.
How's he managing that?
Give him a fish, he'll do even more than that. He'll clap his hands and everything.
Bark at you.
He'll bark at you. Oh, well, I suppose it is a little crazy.
Yeah, really is. 9th of December. In at number 13 is You've Lost That Love and Feeling by the Righteous Brothers.
A bit of a classic, that, innit? I found an enhanced audio version. It's just a big old song, and it's good.
Yeah, I like this because I love that sort of big 60s style production, and those classic tunes, and it's just a good song, isn't it?
Remember that voice that comes out of him, you don't think it's going to, and then it does.
No, you don't. No, I love the other ones just standing there for half the song.
Yeah. Just clicking. Well, and sometimes it looks like they're clicking to a different song. I'm like, what's going on here? But,
Is he the teller to the other one's pen?
Maybe.
Or was it the other way around? I can never. Which is the silent one in Penn and Teller?
Teller, I think.
I think so, yeah. And number 22 is Total Mix by Black Box.
No, because it is a mix of a remix of a remix. Just to, like you said, I think you accurately said it's so that in the pier, the DJs in the crappy nightclubs like the Pier 39 Cleethorpes could look really smart and not actually have to do anything, go to the toilet or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat to their mates. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I've just put this on. Look, they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's on for 9 minutes. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Like this one. In at number 27 is Sadness Part 1 by Enigma.
I don't like him.
No one does.
Well, there must be people out there that got into this new age kind of stuff.
Music for dinner parties.
Well, maybe. In
the early 90s. In the early 90s, London, with yuppies and filofaxes, and the end of that, this was what was being played at.
Yeah.
Or, that's what I imagine anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, just intolerable, really.
Yeah.
Shite beats, post-it level affirmations, extensive use of the panpipe and the shakuhachi. Not for me, that.
No. It's also used in the weird sex scene in the film Boxing Helena.
Yeah, because, in Boxing Helena, amputee victim Sherilyn Fenn is stored in a cupboard, and then the door is left ajar to the cupboard, and she's made to watch her captor stuff some sausage into a bird on the dinner table. And I don't mean that in a Sunday dinner kind of way. Or maybe I do. Anyway, my prevailing thought is just don't ask for mayo, whatever you do in that situation.
Or the brown sauce. Which is what Gary did in a deleted scene that was too hot for the cinema.
The very thought of Gary being in Boxing Helena is horrific. Unless he's in the cupboard, and then that's kind of worse. with him just got leering, going, "Oh, look at that!"
Pouring brown sauce onto her.
Oh no! I can see why in the video they just had that guy looking for a hole in the ceiling. That's as much as I can think of. I don't want to think of anything else now. That's enough. It's too emotional. It's totes emotion.
It's totes emotion, that bloody song. I hate it. I hated Enigma at the time. It's crap.
I hate
really rubbish.
Awful thing.
Even Enya and Clannad fell asleep listening to it.
Yeah, can you imagine all them three getting together for a good new age off? Oh, no thanks.
No, thank you. At number 30 is Freedom 90 by George Michael.
Yes, cue the supermodels, glamour, emancipation from, a particularly challenging legal dispute with the record company, which I think was Sony,
Possibly.
The result was freedom, which was a decrying of exactly what it is. It does exactly what it says in the tin. A very good track. I mean, it's George Michael when he's at his absolute best in this kind of thing.
It's a good song list.
And you know what? Doing what he did. And it made me think, actually, looking at it, because it's all in the era of the supermodel, which is something we don't really think about nowadays.
No.
Because we're probably not allowed, I don't think. But back then, there was these ridiculously, perilously thin, probably, models, supermodel women. They were remarkably beautiful model women who, for some reason, ended up sort of at the wrong end of the whole backlash against all of that kind of thing. And I think they were the victims of what actually was Photoshop shaming. But for them, it actually wasn't Photoshop shaming to a great lesser extent in the early 90s. They were just really good makeup artists working with really good fashion artists, and they were really good at what they did. So, and this video is a little bit of a reminder of how stunning some of those were when they're put in this kind of context. So I thought it was just a little nod to the supermodels back in the day, because I think they don't get much of a look at anymore, do they? Nobody even talks about them. So.
No. I bet this video cost a lot of money.
Yeah, because he did this one, and then he did one similar. He did Too Funky, which was another one where he got a load of supermodels doing like a fashion show in it. And,
I mean, it might be that they were all just his mates and happy just to be on a...
Well, I can imagine they probably were. I mean, he was mates with everybody, wasn't he? Yeah. Oh, Georgie.
What wasn't great, though, because this made me go and listen to the Robbie Williams version.
Ooh.
Which came out when he left Take That, to that same kind of... I think he was trying to do the same kind of thing, but it's awful.
Yeah, it's not
I hate
good.
Robbie Williams most of the time, but God, it's awful.
As the Sun pointed out at the time, you went from Take That to Take Fat.
Oh,
I know, but I'm not doing that. It's the Sun. I'm just quoting. Not that I would ever quote them intentionally, but he's clearly struggling with his mental health at that point, and this song's not a very good expression of that.
No.
And he is also, I think, being horribly exploited at this point without really realising that he is.
It was. I remember all the stuff going around, and he sort of started hanging out with Oasis and stuff, didn't he? When around that time, obviously not now.
Well, it's easy to forget that he was the youngest member in Take That by quite a way. I mean, he was 16, I think, when they were really kicking off. So at 16 to 18 years old, it's not like he was having the time of his life, I don't think. I think he was probably under a lot of pressure from the record company to be a certain thing and do a lot of performance monkeyism, really.
Maybe.
And I think that's a stressful life. Now, the others were older and a bit more savvy to be able to get into that. But can you imagine being 16 and have all that happening to you? And it's not like it's all rock and roll and girls and all the rest of it. At the end of the day, the guy was 16 years old. He wasn't allowed to do a lot of that stuff. Now, whether they encouraged it or not is a different thing. But I think that he's probably more of a victim of the fame than something he heralds from the time, which is probably why he reacted the way he did when he came out of it, because he was probably lost.
Still don't forgive this song, which is bloody rubbish.
No, it should never be. But like I said, he was exploited at that point by some dreadful marketing tossbag that said, why don't you do a cover of George Michael's Freedom song? You're free now. And he's just gone along with it because he was probably high at the time or something. So.
He did look quite... drugged up in the video, allegedly.
Chronic the Drug Wasp.
Yeah. And at number 34 is The Best Christmas of Them All by Shakin' Stevens.
It's a Christmas on the Children. Never quote Conal Cochran when you write a song, Shaky. It's terrible.
This is awful. Awful.
Yes, it is. It's just another Shaky song. Another fake gig, same tramps from the park as his backing singers, suspiciously young audience that were never going to be there other than if they were at gunpoint. It's just, I don't know, he's up the Elvis vibes a bit, hasn't he, on that as well?
Yeah.
Not as burger laden, but very sweaty, and he can't stop jiggling. He's more jiggly now, less shaky, isn't he? He's kind of jiggly John. Not good, that.
I'll just say it's dreadful. And that crappy Christmas animation halfway through.
Oh, it's just bad. Just give it up.
Cliff and Shaky in the same month.
I can't believe he's been going on this long. Every year we've had several songs from Mr. Stevens.
He won't stop. Can't be stopped.
No, can't be stopped.
In at number 35 is the Anniversary Waltz Part 2 from Status Quo.
It's the same as Part 1.
Of course it is. All the songs are the same.
Yeah, they are principally the exact same thing. More of the same. Which, if you like Status Quo, maybe you'll like it. But
maybe you like it.
No,
I didn't. Number 39 is Turtle Rhapsody by Orchestra on the Half Shell. Turtle Rhapsody just sounds like the sort of sound you make on the toilet.
Do you know, when I first read it, I thought it was going to be a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody by the Ninja Turtles. I was like, oh, this is going to be crap. But it's even worse.
It is.
So.
It's a nothing song. It's basically just something, sort of like something from the film, innit, or something. I don't know what it was.
I have a feeling it's something off the soundtrack. Yeah. But so the kids will go, can I have that turtle thing? Because it's got... and there probably loads of special editions with each one had a separate turtle on the front so that you had to buy 4 of them. And I don't know. Apparently gave a free special edition in a box of shreddies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
Because on the cover sort of thing, there's just a load of turtles' heads popping up out of a hole. Which I think is saying something about this song.
I think it is, yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 40 is Gonna Make You Sweat, by CC Music Factory, featuring Freedom Williams.
Oh, it's a good track, that. I mean, everybody knows that track, yeah. As soon as you hear that, everybody dance now, everyone knows it immediately.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, it's that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good track. I mean, and used to good effect in the film Pain and Gain as well.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It's everyone knows that one. You will.
Yeah, it's good.
It was ubiquitous around that time.
Yeah, CC Music Factory and whatnot, and her voice is astonishingly good in that. I mean, goodness me, to hit those kind of notes like that. Wow.
16th of December, and at number 14 is the Grease Mega Mix by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
I know I do DJ now and again, and I still get asked for this.
Yeah, it's an all-time classic.
Yeah, well,
the Grease songs, mix. Everyone likes the Grease songs, but this mix, well, we decry certain mixes, but this is 11 years after the film or whatever, so this is fine, and it does it really well. It's a good mix.
It does, yeah, and it's because those songs are eminently mixable, aren't they? You know, you've got Summer Lovin' mixed in with bloody Grease Lightning, and what's not to like about that?
It did remind me, and you were there at the time, we were on the dance floor in the Pier 39, and this was on, and I hit the high note at the end. Really loudly in the middle of the dance floor, and this girl turned around to me and just went, she was absolutely stunned.
I don't remember it, but that's not saying that I don't, but I can imagine that's something you would do.
Because I was always particularly loud in nightclubs.
Yes, you were.
So,
and if you're gonna do it somewhere, that's the place to do it, because you're not really going to hear that Grease Mega Mix. It's unlikely to be played in Gullivers.
No,
it's very likely to be played at the Pier.
In the Pier, yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. I was there a lot.
You were. And at number 25 is the Crazy Party Mixes by Jive Bunny and the Master Mixers. No.
No.
Number 27 is All the Man That I Need by Whitney Houston.
Very powerful vocal performance in this. I mean, it's amazing. But she's looking thin and wan again. She's starting to make me... In fact, I bought a collection of Stevie Smith poems because she reminded me that much of it. I actually bought a book of them, a hardback book off Amazon to this very day. Because it's got a really great poem. Go and read it. We'll put it in the show notes. It's called No We Have Her to Him, which is a poem about this kind of someone that's bleeding the life out of somebody, which is, I think, what's happening to her.
I did read it. I read it earlier on today.
Classic poem, Stevie Smith from Hull as well.
Ah, there you go. Are these songs building up to Bodyguard one? That coming soon?
It must be at some point. They're kind of all feeling a bit in that oeuvre, aren't they? So
yeah, because the Bodyguard is obviously when she comes back with a massive Forever track, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, yeah, she sings a spectacularly good cover of a
Dolly Parton song.
Parton song, isn't it? Yeah.
In at number 39 is Dr. Jeep by the Sisters of Mercy.
I don't like it. I mean, it's a really odd one to release off that album.
I didn't even know this was a single off that. I have to say,
of all the ones you would release, why would you release this? Because I don't think have they released Vision Thing? Have we even had that?
The album, yeah, we've had the album because we talked about it. I don't think there is a single Vision Thing.
Which you'd think there would be, because that's better than this.
I think it's more Temple of Love than this. I think
weird.
I don't know.
Really crazy early Chat GPT lyrics as well.
His lyrics are always like that, though.
Yeah, literal gibberish if there ever there was any.
Supposedly, I think this is supposed to be about America in it or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know.
I think the whole album is supposed to be about it. But yeah, typical Sisters lyrics. It's in one of my favourites. It's a bit forgettable, this track.
Yeah.
Not as forgettable as number 43, which is the Geordie Boys Gaza rap by Gaza. This is so bad. So bad. I couldn't believe what I was actually watching when I put this video on. Gaza rapping Paul Gascoigne, the football star, rapping.
Yeah,
and
not good rap, bad rap.
And pulling his top up and just riding around the back of a car and shouting Geordie Boys a lot.
Yeah, and who wanted a sequel to Fog on the Tyne is all mine, all mine? Come on. My name's Gaza. It's that kind of rap. Da 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 ba ba dibba dee dee ba da da ba da ba. No, it's really not good.
Yeah, it's not. It's really bad. If
there was ever a reminder of why at that particular time white guys should not be rapping, then just take a look at that and you'll be reminded why.
Yeah. Number 47 is Summer Rain by Belinda Carlisle.
Wishy-washy. I thought you'd probably like it, actually.
I thought it was. The chorus is good. It's got a nice chorus, as with most of their songs, Wakes Up builds in, but it's not one of the best. It's all right.
Forgettable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't remember it all. I don't remember it now. Number 56 is Prodigal Blues by Billy Idol.
Oof, utter shit, that song.
It's not great, is it?
No.
And I don't know. We said about it last time we saw him that his snare is going off the charts, but my God.
Look at that. It's so stupid, isn't it?
No one's mouth should do that. I was trying to do it. I was like,
it's fish hook. He's got a fish hook in it and he's just yanking on a little invisible line. It's so stupid.
Just, yeah. And also his hair, as you've rightly noted out. It's
big and white and well grown.
And there's so much backlight. His head is tiny.
If that light got any brighter, you'd see through the front of his eyes.
It'd be an X-ray.
You would,
yeah. Brighter.
You'd see his skull, the outline of his skull and his brains.
Well, it'd just be maybe. Just dreadful. It's a crap song. 23rd of December, there was nothing released.
No, which is odd, but I suppose it wouldn't be.
It is. But on the 30th of December, well, all the happiness appeared. Because at number 1, we got Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter.
Chirpy.
Straight in. Yeah. And at number 23, we got the Time by Anthrax.
Yeah, okay. I remember hearing that in Gulliver's, and I didn't even realise it was Anthrax.
Doesn't sound anything like what I thought Anthrax sounded like. It's just
same. I thought it was like a pop-punky sort of band.
Yeah, I did as well. Didn't know that was them at all. At number 41 is Preacher Man by Bananarama.
Sexy bananas. There's not a phrase that goes together, is it? I don't know. They've tried to up the sexy on it by giving it the very on-trend black and white Vogue look.
Yes.
With them sort of lots of close-ups of them pouting and
leaning forward,
cavorting and stuff. But it's just not really working.
No.
No.
To continue the happy, we have at number 48, The One to Sing the Blues by Motorhead.
Just sounds like Motorhead. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. I mean, aside from Ace of Spades, I couldn't tell you another Motorhead song. And if you played me 4 in a row, I would be able to tell them apart. They all sound like this. Every Motorhead song I hear is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, people really dig him.
Yeah, exactly.
I always thought the way he had his microphone crooked like that was always going to end up giving him quite a sore neck.
Well, he'd be able to roll his neck back and look at you backwards. Lemmy was a closet seal.
Oh God, that's complicated matters.
That's what they do.
Rest in peace, Lemmy.
They had to build it's like the coffin with an L shape, so his neck cape roll into the back.
Bizarre.
And then at number 51 is Mercy, Mercy Me, I Want You by Robert Palmer.
Oh no, greasy. Too greasy. Greasy Palmer greasing it up with his sleazy, greasy song. Greasy.
God, you're greasy. Just reminded me of that bit from The Simpsons. Where he wants all the grease.
God, you're greasy.
Oh, Mr. Wensleydale. Yeah, the song's shit though.
Very.
Number 70 is Will Did You Ever by Deborah Harry and Iggy Pop.
Crap, what a swell party this is. I've never really liked that song. I can't remember what it's from and I didn't look into it because it's
I think it's a 1939
some film probably with, I don't know, somebody famous from that time in it. It might be in White Christmas. I don't know what it's from. I just know this version's not very good. And I guess it's meant to be a joke, but I didn't find it very funny.
No, I didn't. And finally, in at number 80 is Calling You by Paul Young.
Yeah, King of the Honkers. Not so much maybe, really, but you know.
Well, not this one, but I listened to this and I was wondering if there was any consonants in this song.
Yeah.
He's gone full vowel. He's gone full honky vowel.
All the vowels. Honky vowel, yeah. And also, of course, he's also singing in a higher register. It can only have looked in the face of Orbison for that.
Yeah, I did hear that. He's like, bring in the Orbison.
Exactly, yeah. There's another love of a family. Ruined him forever, that. He's now Paul even younger now.
There's not many albums out. 2nd of December, there was in at 23 was Kim Appleby album.
Yeah, the song, it was her album, yeah. There was songs on there that were intended for Mel and Kim, weren't they? But she sadly passed away. It's actually pretty good, actually, Kim Appleby's stuff, so worth listening to.
What isn't pretty good isn't number 24. It's Party Time by Jive Bunny and the Master Mixers.
No, we said before, and I'll say it again. Mixing mitosis can't happen fast enough for them.
Yeah, true. 9th of December, in at number 11 was To the Extreme. Extreme. Like Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, no. Lots of fancy pants stuff. At the end of the day, you sampled songs that you shouldn't have, and you're an idiot, so no.
Yeah. Number 13 is Merry Merry Christmas by New Kids on the Block.
Ugh. Go away. Stop releasing stuff.
Why is Merry Christmas is stupid. I don't like it.
No.
Just one Merry is enough. Don't go Americanizing it with your double Merrys.
No, and have you seen it was released in September the 19th in the USA?
Of course it was. Number 74 is Hugging and a Kissing by Bomb Ballerina. This astonished me that there was an album.
Well, it's an inevitability, isn't it, of the machine, a product of the machine. We can only hope that all of the copies of that were buried under the M1 somewhere.
We can only hope. They'll erupt at some point. You can't keep that much evil down forever. Someone will go along and read a book, or the Timmy Mallet Necronomicon.
Well, it explains why the M1 has never been repaired.
Because it can't be repaired.
It can't be repaired. They need to keep on top of the Bomb Ballerina.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it ends up like that John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, Prince of Darkness. You just see Timmy Mallet come out of a church at the end with glowing eyes. Oh, no one wants to see that.
No, because the next sound you'd hear would be this shotgun that I was holding right next to his head as it went off. And me going, I don't know how I ended up here, but I feel like I'm doing everyone a favour.
Absolutely.
In this fantasy film version, of course.
Oh, whack-a-day. On the 16th of December, this is the last album for the month. In at number 59 was 1990, I guess that is, AD by Enigma. But of course it's written in Roman numerals.
Of course it is.
Because they just would be. yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Because they're pretentious knobheads.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Cretu.
Yeah, because Romanian German musician Michael Cretu, who sounds like he should be in Zoltan. It was released in Europe. Oh God, it's just crap, isn't it? The Gregorian chant with sexuality.
Yeah, well, when they got done, the people who actually sing the Gregorian chants, I'm guessing the Gregorians, didn't take kindly to him nicking their recordings, and they sued them successfully for a right of personality overuse. But apparently, it was like the case was apparently later dropped after Cretu agreed to pay compensation to the Gregorians. Never upset the Gregorians. They're from Planet Gregoria.
Absolutely. They'll chant you. They'll chant you good.
They just say, who's making deals with the Gregorians? Get the Vulcans, get the Gregorians, get all the Romulans, get them all in a corner, get them all around a table.
Not the Gregorians. They're bred for war.
The Cretus have been upsetting everybody.
The Cretus and the Gregorians.
An ancient battle.
waged in the courts of 1990. Sorry, in the courts of MCMXC AD.
Just pretentious wankery of a extraordinary kind. Just no.
What a way to end the musical year.
Exactly. Take that panpipe and stick it up your ass and blow down it yourself. Self-inflate.
No one likes them. Enigma, they were garbage. Anyway, that's it. That was the Christmas music. It's not a lot of... it is what it is. That's what we had to put up with for December 1990. Bring your daughter to the slaughter following Cliff. I do like that, though. I think that's
the highlight, not the stupid Enigma nonsense.
No, it's not. We're going to go away. We're going to play some panpipes and get in tune with our inner Gregorian, and then we're going to come back. We still have 2 games left for you, and they are interesting games. I can tell you that. Stick around. And we're back for the final part this month. Just a couple of games left to go through. But, well, this is an interesting one. Graham, it's over to you to tell us all about your hard driving.
I mean, interesting's a word, isn't it, this?
It's certainly a word, yeah.
Hard Drivin was only available on a compilation at this point. It later comes out, and I think in a couple of years on the Hit Squad label, but at this point, publisher was Domark. But this is obviously copyright Atari, Tengen, so it's from the arcade, of course. Now, this scored at the high of 20% in Zapped because they did review it as part of a couple of compilations. So, there's something quite wrong with it. And it was coded by somebody called Mike Hutchinson. Now, he's previously done Final Fight and Bomb Jack 2, so they may not be perfect, but this is the guy that finished the code on this. That isn't the guy that started it. I'm not exactly sure who that was. There is a big article on this in the games that weren't. Because this is a classic game that, actually, it should be in a website called The Games That Shouldn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, the graphics are Andrew McCarthy, Ralph McCarthy, and title screen Ralph McCarthy. The McCarthys, everybody the McCarthys. And the musician was Dave Lowe. There is music on the title screen, but that's the only bit of music there is. And there you go. Now, the game then. So let's talk a little bit about the game. This is an arcade. So first off, let's do what we normally do. This is an arcade conversion. Okay. Hard Drivin is a sim racing arcade video game. Exciting. Developed by Atari in 1989. Players test drive a sports car on courses that emphasize stunts and speed. It features one of the first 3D polygon driving environments via a simulator cabinet with a haptic vibrating steering wheel and a custom rendering architecture. All of that equates to the word dull in my book. In Japan, Game Machine listed Hard Drivin in its June 1st, 1989 issue as the second most successful upright cockpit arcade cabinet of the month. Okay, and it became Japan's sixth. It became Japan's sixth highest grossing dedicated arcade game of 1990.
It was a big deal, this game.
It was, and the reasons are it's a 3D polygon gaming as we knew it was completely revolutionary at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so fair play to all the technical crazy that's going on in there. Now, the arcade doesn't actually look that impressive when you look at it today, but you've got to look at it through a 1990 lens. Nowadays, compared to some of the crazy quality games we're getting now, it looks ridiculous. But in 1990, these polygon things just weren't heard of. And even the 16-bit machines, they were pushing a few of these things around, but this was the first time it had been done in a kind of proper simulatory kind of way in the arcade. The arcade had a accelerator pedal, brake pedal. It was configured like an actual car. And you can still play this in the arcade clubs and things like that. They've got a couple of working ones. Now, the interesting couple of details about the arcade before we dive into the C64 horror story. But the arcade is actually, it's interesting because this was actually, all of the hardware was designed for a different game. So the hardware that's in this was actually designed for the last Starfighter game that never came out in the arcades.
Oh, weird.
And the reason it never came out, because you can sort of see it if you think about it, all the polygons and everything else. The reason it never came out is because it made the arcades themselves were really expensive. And when they decided, no, right, this is all the hardware we need, this is what we're going to need. Somebody at Atari went, nobody is going to spend that on an arcade. Nobody. So the game got cancelled. So there is no official Last Starfighter game that looks like it does in the film and that features this technology. And then what was left of the technology and the bits and pieces they'd compiled together was then reformed into Hard Drivin, which then came out as a lower resolution 3D poly driving game. Now, poly games, like I said, unheard of in the 90s. And I remember seeing it and thinking, it's like I said, it's hard to look at it now with all the modern games we've got. But I remember thinking you're looking at something that is the future of gaming in a weird way, because it's just, we take it for granted now, but back then it was mind-blowing. And that's a good arcade story. And I remember it also being really boring in the arcades, hard to control and expensive. That's kind of my prevailing memories of it.
Yep.
But I don't want to distract from its importance. The blurb for the C64 version of this then describes in the introduction the ultimate driving simulation. Experience the thrills and spills of racing in realistic solid 3D. None of that is true. Not one sentence or word. It's a complete lie. And then it says in the game, it says, it's mean, it's hard, it's here. I'm not sure what they're referring to there. Hard Drivin, the ultimate driving simulator. Races onto your home computer. Races from its runaway success in the arcades. Now you can get behind the wheel of the world's top sports car, on a stunt course. What? Jump bridges? Drive the speed track? Or even get dizzy on the vertical loop? All in super realistic solid 3D. Goodness me, I mean, the lies. Top drivers can challenge the Phantom Photon in a head-to-head, no-holds-barred contest to find the top hard driver. It says the game consists of 2 tracks, Crap and Crapper, each testing a different aspect of your driving skills. The stunt track apparently features 3 main stunts. That's one phrase for it. The bridge, the jump, and the loop, and the bank. That's 4, but okay. Pay particular attention to the speed signs and your own velocity, just generally in life.
Not in the car, just your own velocity.
Driving at more than 60 mile an hour over the bridge will launch you into the air to crash on landing, and under 60 mile an hour means you won't jump far enough. The 60 minimum sign on the vertical loop means you have to drive at 60 mile an hour or more just to stay on the loop as you spin through it. As you practice, you should be able to take the bridge, bank, and loop at more than the recommended speeds. Make it to the checkpoints on the course, and you'll receive a time bonus. If you do a fast enough lap, you can race the Phantom Photon, the computer's car, in a race around the stunt track. The Phantom drives a mean race, and crashing means instant disqualification. Game tips. The game tip number 1 here, practice skid control. God, you do. Whatever. And then there's actually a whole series of tips on how to be a real hard driver. Now, I can tell you, none of that applies to the C64 one. The C64 one is a product of a development issue, and the development issue was that the person who was doing the original game couldn't do it. Simple as that. So they obviously according to the games that weren't, some screenshots of an early version of this appeared in Zapped in around this time at some point. Mm-hmm. And then one of the people who was involved in the game had got in touch with the games that were, and basically said that this was a game that had been in development hell. Somebody couldn't do it, the original developer. And so another developer that was drafted in had 2 weeks to get it to complete this from scratch. So this game is a product of 2 weeks development.
That long?
And the team wasn't given it any code or assets or anything to work from that made that game. This is the product of 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And so, of course, it's crap. Of course it's rubbish, because it took 2 weeks to make whatever you would even call this. Now, I mean, it's rare that I'm lost for words with a game when it loads up. But goodness me, I mean, wow. Okay. And so what does 2 weeks of effort get you? Does it get you the realistic 3D that they promised? I mean, so this is a game that should never have been, and that technically never was, but somehow it's here. Somehow it was made for reasons unknown. Like I said before, I didn't ever really like the arcade anyway. I thought it was always a bit dreary and a pain in the ass to control. The C64 version of this was clearly bodged from the second somebody thought about it. Now, a coder that was out of their depth and then with a 2 week sort of start from scratch, this is just nonsense. This is just something that should never have been allowed to happen. For them to then consider this a releasable thing, even in a compilation or hidden away in a compilation, and later they released this on budget for $3.99, believe it or not. It's just a slap across the face for C64 owners. It's a rip-off. It shouldn't been. They should have just canned it and said, you know what? But obviously they were under some kind of contractual deal with Atari, who probably must have looked at this and mini-sicked, and even probably still do to this day. I mean, aside from an okay loading screen and the music that's on it, everything else in this is so utterly terrible it beggars belief. It's a crappy D-port from some direction. I'm not sure what horror direction this came from. Maybe Spectrum or Amstrad, I don't know. Yeah, I remember playing the Amiga version back in the day, and I never really liked that much. It's all a pretty dull, thoughtless thing, and it never controlled well with a joystick. And the C64 one had actually mercifully completely escaped me, and so now I've had to experience this horror. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst arcade conversions ever on the C64, and we've seen some real doozers.
Yeah,
but this is absolutely, utterly devoid of anything remotely related to that 3D game that had all the fancy polys in the arcade. It defies belief, especially when you line this up with something like Stunt Car Racer. I mean, it's quite staggering how utterly shit this is when you compare it to something like that. I mean, after a loading screen, okay, you get to select auto or manual. Do yourself a favor, just switch it off right there. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. But if you have to, choose auto, because manual will drive you mad. You won't be able to control this anyway, but that makes it twice as hard. Then you'll select the stunt or racetrack, which it's neither here nor there which one you choose, because they're both shit. And then begins your nightmarish, crappy journey through the quasi-3D blue and yellow world of this utter crap fest.
It's always two good colours to pick.
You're meant to steer the car with a joystick, I guess. Use up to accelerate and then noodle your way around the stunt track, avoiding the oncoming blockmobiles as they jerkily hover around you. You won't do that, though. I'll wager within a second your car is spinning out of control at a frame rate that will make Driller look like it was turbo speed. I mean, you'll want to apply correction to the direction, but you won't be able to because you'll just jerk around in some kind of negative FPS fusion where you can't stop. So you'll either hit an oncoming car or you'll just time out and then get put back on the track to repeat the whole pointless exercise. I mean, I set my speed to slow and I still span off the track. It's just impossible to control. And they've clearly done it that way because as long as you've seen a little bit of the 3D-ish, then that's it. They've fulfilled what they promised. But there's nothing in here. There's no game in here. Add to that, the perspective's out of whack. And why? Because it's not really in 3D. There's no 3D calculation. I don't know what D this is in, but it ain't 3D. Now, I did a quick glance at the perspective on the road and the blocky wheels of the oncoming blockmobiles, and you'll see they don't align properly. They don't align because this isn't calculated in any way. There's no 3D calculation going on in this. This is just moving the pixels in a vague direction that resembles the perspective of the road. So there is no 3D in this. It's fake. There's no 3D calculations. There's nothing. None of that's going on. There ain't any. It's shocking. To pull off a game like this, you need to know what the fuck you're doing with C64 code and with maths. Now, given that the C64 isn't classically great at maths, then you really need to know how to code your way out of this kind of thing. And 2 weeks is, with the best, most talented coder in the world, and no discredit to the people that tried, but 2 weeks is not enough time for you to be able to create the complex 3D environments that's required, of the mathematics that's required, the matrix maths and the 3D polys and all of that. It took a large percentage of time to create something like Driller that ran at 1 FPS. A race game in that world, unless you're the Jeff Crammons or the stunt car racers or the Grand Prix circuits, a team of people with plenty of time, you're never going to do it. It's just not going to happen, and it doesn't.
Nope.
So if you don't follow those rules and you follow the crazy rules of Domark and this nasty piece of shit that they've released, however they've done that, when you put those parameters together, this is what you get. A piece of shit that is not 3D, that is not in any way calculating or doing anything else. I had a look at the code using the C64 debugger. There is no 3D calculation going on in that game. None. It is just moving bad graphics through memory at a kind of angle. Terrible. So there's nothing redeemable with this. Everything is bad. There's a UI that serves no purpose. It's got a rev counter that means nothing and a speedometer that doesn't measure anything. There's no sense of speed or direction. The road is a blue and yellow striped affair with some dithering for whatever reason to make it look like it's kind of like the drillery 3D look, but it's not. The engine sound is a drilling noise filtered drone that will burrow into your soul. All of these things add up for it to be shite, amongst all the other stuff, and it really is utter crap. Oddly, other versions of this, Spectrum, Amstrad, are better, because they probably had more than 2 weeks, I'll wager, and somebody actually knew what they were doing. I mean, they're not perfect, but far from it, but they're way better than this. This is just an insult to the C64. Now, normally I would say that an arcade conversion like this should probably never have been attempted on the C64, but there are 3D-based racing games and stunt car games on the C64. They do exist, and they're pretty fast, and they're pretty good. So it can be done. Yeah. Stunt Car Racer and Grand Prix Circuit, they exist, and they're perfectly good. Maybe not the fastest in the world, but they're good. They're okay.
Even Revs.
And to some extent, Test Drive, maybe, dare I say, it's not perfect, but it's blocky in the side, but it's had something in it. Or you could go the other way and go all the way back in time and look at the Lucasfilm games where you've got that kind of fractalist type 3D view, or the Eidolon, Cronus Rifts. It can be done. There's ways to do it, but not like this. Not like this. In the hands of somebody that didn't know what they were doing. All right, I get that. This person struggled. Domark panicked. They handed it to somebody else. They had this hot potato. They didn't know what the hell they were doing or what to do with it. Maybe somebody could have just said, let's just not release it on the C64. Let's not bother with it, because what's the point if we're only going to give it 2 weeks and then throw it out there for poor suckers to either get as part of a compilation. You're not adding value to a compilation with this piece of shit. That's actually ripping people off. And then to later do it as budget, a more elevated budget price. Everything about this is awful. It annoyed me, because this is on the back of a game like Creatures, where we've got such technical achievement and such amazing, the game design isn't all there, but it's showing the C64 off to its very best. We find this buried in a compilation, showing the C64 at its very worst. Such a tragic shame and a piece of shit game. I hate it. It should not be. It should not be allowed. What about you?
What the hell is this? I put it on and I was genuinely shocked. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I thought, I messaged you when you wait till you play Hard Drivin. And then I think about 2 days later, I just got a message going, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, told you. I mean, yeah, like you said, no wonder they buried this on a pair of compilations rather than release it on its own. Because you can't release this on its own. The fact that they did on budget.
I know. It's on a compilation it's with. It's got
Power Drift on it on one of them.
I was going to say Power Drift. That's right. I was trying to think so.
I imagine playing Power Drift and then putting this on. Oh,
yeah. You'd just be angry at it. I think.
I mean, this is worse than that bloody Lotus Esprit Turbo we saw.
It is, yeah.
Way worse. And I think this is one of, like you rightly said, perhaps even the worst conversion we've ever seen.
So bad.
It just shouldn't have been attempted. The arcade, because the arcade version was quite the thing at the time. I remember the big arcade cabinet. It looked like nothing else with those big chunky. Way before like Sega were doing things like Virtua Racing.
Yeah. Was it on wider? Was it on a big screen or several screens? I think
seem
as well.
To remember it was on a big screen in a cab where you sat in. I think, and if you look in, you go, and it had
real
all that
rear view mirrors and stuff like that.
It had that Atari noise. It had those Atari noises and stuff. But it was. I think this predates Virtua Racing, doesn't it? So so it was the first sort of sight of that. I mean, I didn't know if it was coming. Because, I mean, years previous to this, they'd done that iRobot, hadn't they, in sort of 3D Atari. So it was kind of building on those things. But this was a real sort of landmark in the arcades. I remember seeing it go, wow, that was good. And then I played it and went, wow, this is really boring. So I never played it much again. But it had those solid 3D visuals. But trying to put this to the C64, it's just a fool's errand. It's just a fool's errand. But, they could have done something. I mean, if all they had was 2 weeks, fair enough. But it was not this monochromatic horror with horrible screechy sound effects. And I would call them juddery, but they're barely juddery visuals and terrible controls. Just trying to wrestle this car to go in a straight line. It's unlike any driving I've ever done in my life. Anything. I didn't overcompensating left, right.
It's impossible.
It's just no. It's not even a facsimile of real driving. It's not even an attempt. It's not anything.
No.
This is a real horror of a conversion. One should just never been attempted. Awful. Just genuinely awful. Like you said, that UI means nothing. It's just stuff at the bottom. You can't. Yellow and blue. Who picks that?
I know, it's so bad, and it's even in like a small window at the top as well, isn't it?
It's
just rubbish. When I think about something like Stunt Car Racer, I just think, what on earth? I mean, what?
I don't know. What was that number underneath the screen as well? I'm just looking at some screenshots. Just a number.
It's the timer, isn't it? Because you have.
Is that the timer counting?
You have to
down?
pass the checkpoints. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be useful if it said timer, wouldn't it, or
just
something useful
just
like that.
3 numbers. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Anyway, to be fair. Within 2 seconds of even starting the engine, I was spinning around in circles trying to figure out what I was doing. It's impossible.
Bloody awful. Bloody dreadful. God, if you'd have bought this on budget a few years later.
Yeah, it's not far off either. I think it's in 1992.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it again. We would have had to look at it down the line, but we've done our due diligence.
Zap gave it an equally stinking review the second time around as well.
I think he got lower. I think he got 13%. So
good. You should have got 0%. Utterly rubbish.
Utterly rubbish. There we go. Hard driving. Dreadful. Let's move on. Still got one game left this week. And that game, well, it's another budget title. This is Prison Riot. Always a jolly thing for a game.
Random and
Prison
horrible.
Riot. It's another budget release from Players Software. So this is Joe Blade 3. Sorry, I mean Prison Riot. I mean, was this meant to be Joe Blade 3?
It was on the Spectrum, I think, wasn't it?
Because it came out on the Spectrum a year before, but never surfaced on the C64.
Yeah.
But this game, Prison Riot, is released on the Spectrum.
Random.
Weird.
Random.
I think there's a distinct possibility of that being the case. I don't know. Let's have a look. So it's this budget game. The code and the graphics here are by Paul Yates. Not someone we have seen before. He did do some football games back in '89 that never made the pages of Zap. So we didn't see them. So I never.
One of them was Gary Lineker's game, I believe.
No, I don't think it was that. It was someone else.
Because there's two of his games that are identical. They just changed the name on it.
Yeah, like we saw the other week. There was another one where they did that. Yeah. The music is by David Hayes. He does a lot of tunes for budget titles around this time. A lot of the Hanna-Barbera ones, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And with a name like Prison Riot, one would hope for a story. Of course, well, there is one. Dawn breaks over a high-security prison, but all is not well, you don't say. Last night, the inmates rioted, smashing cells and offices and building booby traps to help avoid recapture. The prison authorities have become impatient. They want to send in the riot squad, but this will result in a bloodbath. The situation is tense and getting worse by the minute. The only way to avoid the ensuing carnage is to sending a snatch squad to find the 7 ringleaders and negotiate with them to surrender to police custody. You are that snatch squad. You can't have one person be a squad. Squad implies
they want
plurals, multiple. You've been given only one chance to defuse the situation and avert a massacre. This features authentic graphics. I don't know what that means.
As opposed to
fake graphics.
These graphics aren't authentic at all.
It's got addictive gameplay, booby traps, and complex sub-games.
Does it now?
Yeah, all those things, Graham. Authentic graphics. So, like we saw with Outlaw, this game starts with but this has got a rather bland title screen. It's got the name of the game at the top, in single color writing, high score table below it. The visuals here, they instantly set off my Spectrum visual alert alarm. I have it on the wall. Yeah, as soon as I load this up, it went, whoop, whoop. I was like, okay, what's going on? And my eye just started twitching a bit. The music that plays is good, though. It's all right. I quite like the music for this. I like that it starts off with that siren effect and kind of it almost sounds like helicopters in the background. It's a really nice bit of music to this off, and then it gets going. The sort of menacing bass effect. I was like, this is all right before it gets going. I did quite like that. It sort of fits the theme of the game for once with the sirens and the helicopters and stuff. I thought, okay, that's all right. Anyway, nothing else to do here once you've listened to the music. So press fire, start the game, and the Spectrum visual alert alarm goes off the chart. It just fell off the wall. But not before the sound effect from the start of Paradroid is heard for some odd reason.
Yeah, it's weird.
Bloop, 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 bloop. I'm like, that's weird. Why is Paradroid here? So I've mentioned Joe Blade, and essentially that's what we've got here. The game itself is presented in classic Spectrum style, 3 horizontal banks. At the top, we have the name of the game, your score, and the time left to complete the mission, which is 15 minutes, not long. In the middle, in a frame, is the game window, and at the bottom, we've got the UI showing your remaining health. There's a row of hearts, your ammo left, the number of prisoners you have rescued, the number of keys you have, and the number of boots. Never quite understood what that was for, but it was boots. The game window, it's all 2-color Spectrum style. That's what we've got. It looks like a Spectrum game. This the opening screen is a lovely, again, yellow and blue affair. Very popular. Your guy, whoever he is, starts on the left of the screen, and the controls here are left and right for walk, up to jump, fire to shoot your gun, and down to enter any open doors or windows that are either above or below you. So essentially, it's Joe Blade 2. It really is. Because the game itself is a flick screen. It's flick screen, and as you move from one to the other, you'll see either hooded prisoners or other police members who are quite a nice touch. There are some nice touches to this game, which I give it. I like the fact that the police, I thought you were the only one going in, but there's other policemen there, and they actually take the prisoners down, which is quite a nice touch. There's combat going on away from you, aside from you, which is quite a nice touch. If you contact with a prisoner, reduces your health. If it runs out, it's game over. It's that kind of thing. You don't have lives, you just have a health bar. If it runs out, you're done for. You do have a gun, like I said, you press fire to shoot, and you can shoot them. You can also shoot your own police, so you need to be careful who you shoot. You only have limited ammo as well, or like in Joe Blade 2, you can jump and kick them in the head to kill them. So you can do that as well. So it's a cross between Joe Blade 1 and 2 in that sense. And it looks and controls and feels just like those games. It's exactly the same. So as you progress through the prison, you'll find keys. These will let you access the locked doors to get to the roof. And you have to get to the roof in order to find the 7 ringleaders of the riot. And that's what you've got to do. So if you... sorry, hang on a minute. However, before you get there, you must solve a puzzle. So when you actually, for some strange reason, it just means you've got to climb through an open window, but then you get this puzzle you have to solve. And you get the word porridge, and it's mixed up in a square grid. So it becomes a sliding tile puzzle.
Yeah.
And you have to slide it around, and it tells you've got to get at least three letters in the right place, or 4 or 5 or 6. And so you slide around, and if you get them in the right, then fine, you get through the roof, you get onto the roof, and then you find a ringleader, and they will you find them, and then you basically just lead them to the left of the roof through the flick screens, and they get kind of lifted away on a sort of, I can't remember, by a helicopter or something. And you do this with all 7 prisoners, and you win the game. That's what you got to do. So you got to get to the 7 roofs and win the game. That's it. As you progress, you can find extra ammo and boots to allow you to attack. There are burgers dotted about. They give you a health back. It's typical flick screen, wander around fodder. There's stuff around to refuel you, give you your health back and stuff like that. You also need to find the keys, as I said, to open the doors to get to the roof. And it's classic Spectrum fodder. You played Joe Blade 1 and 2, it'll all be very familiar to you because it's the same as Joe Blade 2, basically. There are issues, though, beyond the visuals. There's bad slowdown at times. Bad slowdown and speed up. It does that classic thing where it's drawing these high-res graphics, and it's doing it in a Spectrum style. So I don't even know if they're actual sprites.
No, they're probably not.
They're probably not. I think it's just pushing pixels through, like we've seen before. Z80 code, more than likely. Who knows? So when you get when you get a few of them on screen, it all slows down because it can't push them very fast. And then as soon as you either kill them or they wander off, it all speeds back up again. So you get that.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of.
Does.
It's not very smooth. The visual style, they are detailed. The characters that run about, it's not what I want from a C64 game. Joe Blade 2 and 1 were actually quite nice looking games, especially 2. We sort of said it was a good looking little game. Bit weird that you're jumping around booting people. But I went and had a look back at that and had a nice visual C64 style, and I don't know why this doesn't, but I do. It's obviously just push the Spectrum version through it. There are also moments that you can flick onto a screen. And you don't, when you flick to a next screen, you don't actually start on screen, you kind of walk on. But what happens is there can be enemies that spawn at the same point you are. And before you know it, your health is going down before you even know it. And then you're dead. For quite a few times, I just died while off screen because I was kind of looking at what enemies would be on screen. But there was an enemy that spawned right on me off screen and he just drained my energy. Because that's what they do. They just drain your energy while they're in contact with you. So that was very frustrating. And it's not a very good thing, to actually have in a game. There's also some bad collision detection. Quite a few times my bullets would just pass through enemies. So because I think it's jerking along. So what I think's happening is it's moving from dot to dot to dot to position to position to position, and the enemies move to the position past it. Yeah. So it's not calculating them properly. So that's just essentially because of the frame rate, and it's just a bit crap. So I think that's what's happening there. And there's just a general lack of originality here. It's essentially Joe Blade 1 and 2 in Spectrum trousers. Nobody wanted that. Wanted a Joe Blade 3 if you wanted to do that. Like I said, there are some nice touches, like the prisoners on the roof throwing slates at you. I thought it was quite funny, and the fact there are police helping to quell the riot as well as you. But in the end, it's a rather poor offering, this. That it's worse than both of its obvious forebears in every way. The levels are not very interesting to move around. They get very samey. There's not the same amount of variety that we saw in Joe Blade 1 or 2. Very easy to get lost. There's little in the way of memorable scenery to navigate by. It's just same rooms after same rooms after same rooms, and you're like, and they also randomize where stuff is, so you're kind of wandering about trying to find a key to get to the roof, and then you do, and it all just feels very dull. There's no music, limited sound effects, ugly Spectrum style visuals on the C64. I don't like it. It slows down. Odd release this on the machine, an odd release. I think it should have just been left on the Amstrad and Speccy where it probably belonged. I didn't get much on this. If you're going to do a Joe Blade 3, do a Joe Blade 3, not this. This thing. This wasn't for me, and I think this was after Outlaws, which was an okay, solid C64 budget release. This is a poor C64 budget release, and I didn't really take to it that much. What about you?
Same problems with it. I mean, fundamentally, this is in bad taste. 1990 was when you had the prison riots in Strange Ways, I think it was.
I didn't know that.
For 25 days in 1990, around April time, I think it started on April 1st, the Strange Ways prison in Manchester had extensive rioting where prisoners camped out they had a rooftop protest for 25 days.
So that's obviously where this has come from then. I didn't realize.
Yeah, so they've kind of made a game of a not a very nice thing that happened for lots of people. And this is obviously Joe Blade, but they've just called it Prison Riot, and thematically I think it stinks a little bit. I don't think it's in very good taste.
No, that's fair enough.
Aside, the game itself, it's just rubbish. It's a Spectrum game on the C64. I've never liked that. Some of the typefaces on it were okay-ish. I'll give it credit where credit's due. The graphics on a Spectrum are kind of what you expect. So they're quite detailed for what they are, but it's very Spectrum-esque. But on the C64, it just doesn't look right. And also it slows down, and it's not a very interesting game, all said and done. You are just wandering around, periodically going through doors, eventually finding a puzzle or two, and it's just not very interesting. And I didn't really think it was very good at all. I don't remember being that struck on the Joe Blade 2, because I remember that's just the one you go around kicking people in the head a lot.
Yeah.
But this isn't a very good version of that anyway. So, silly really to release this. With all the good inroads that players have made with Outlaw for £3. And inexplicably, this got a higher rating in Zapped than Outlaw, which states the scores are clearly the wrong way around, I think.
It's got 67%. Not quite sure how.
So I would have given this the below 40 score and given Outlaw the 67, 68 side of Adam in Reverse. So I didn't think much to it. Outside of the fact that it's a game that's completely distasteful and unpalatable, really, to make a game about something that actually happened and it was a real challenging time. not just for the people who work in those prisons, but all the other things that were going on around that. And, I don't know the conditions of what that caused all that, and nor do I, is it relevant really? But the point is, to make a game later down the line at Christmas, to release a game around Christmas time that's based on something like that is a bit weird. And I don't think it's very good anyway. So, nah, not for me.
No, not for me either, that one. Not for me. There we go. That's the 4 games for this week. So we looked at Creatures.
We did. Technically formidable.
Technically formidable, yeah, but just some issues. Some weird issues.
A bit on the dull side, which is odd.
Plodding. A bit ploddy.
Yeah, stop-starty.
Yeah. We looked at Outlaw, which was an okay... Well, the best Gunsmoke we've seen.
Yeah, best Gunsmoke and a good budget game as well.
And a good budget game.
Good to see that.
Hard Driving.
Utterly shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, that it got 20%, it still boggles my mind.
Should have got 0. They should have. We've said this so many times about Zapped. Be honest.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about that.
No, there's nothing redeemable in there. You can't play it. No. And finally, Prison Riot, which, as you rightly point out, is a bit distasteful and also
not very good anyway.
But it's not very good either. So there we go. That's our 4 games this week. So what do we got next week? We carry on. We've got another 4 games coming up next week. Those games, Graham, will be Chase HQ2, Special Criminal Investigations.
Oh, cartridge.
I know. Do you know, weirdly sort of thing, I've hunted high and low. Maybe you can find one. I can't find a cartridge version of the damn thing.
Oh, weird. I'll see if I can find one.
There's something called, there's Macadam Bumper, which is a
pinball game.
Pinball game, yeah. Then we've got Sabutio.
Oh, God. A simulation based on a simulation. A double sim.
Something's gone wrong in the Matrix. And then there's Atomic Robo Kid. Interesting arcade game, that one. So we'll see how
good arcade.
Goes. Yeah, we'll see how the C64 version fares. We'll see. So that's the middle part of December. If you want to support the podcast, you can do. That would be really cool. You can sign up to our Patreon at patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. Price of a sandwich or a coffee or probably well less than a beer these days. I was in Newcastle the other week. I got 2 pints, £13.10.
Wow, okay. That's quite a lot.
They weren't even like thingy pints. They're just like, I think it was just Madrids.
All major cities now are charging city tax on their beers.
Crazy. Yeah.
It is ridiculous. You need to find like a little, to brew your own and take it with you.
yeah. But yes, I was like, no, I love Newcastle. That's where we went up sort of north on holiday sort of thing. So
Newcastle's amazing.
But the price, when I said 2 pints,
brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it?
£13. I was like,
yeah.
I could sign up to our podcast for 3 months for that, nearly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway, yeah. So, well cheaper than the price of a pint of beer. Get the episodes ad-free, early, little bonuses we put out. Like we just put out our trip to Zap Live, didn't we, on our Patreon?
We did.
You could have got to listen to that. Things like that. You can hear those. Join our Discord, join in the high score things and chat. And there's some really good chat and stuff going on there as well.
There is.
So
loads of fun.
All that kind of thing is open to you for that price. You can buy as a Ko-fi if you want, like some cool people do, and that's always good as well. We post all over the social medias, so please do engage if you want to. Give us a shout out or anything like that. Give us a review. It's all good. Or go to our website, zappedtothepast.com, or go to our shop, zappedtothepast.shop, and buy stuff.
Do both.
Do all of it. Do all of the above. Be a super fan. Anything you want to add, Graham? Because I think we've ranted at the beginning and then.
No, I think no. It's just I'm glad that we've got the Hard Drivin out of the way because it's so crap. So I just don't play that. We say it many times. We say it on every podcast that we play these games so you don't have to. In that instance, we really have. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Do yourself a favour. Don't play that because it really is dreadful.
It's so bad. Don't do it.
Yeah. And on that dreadful note, I think we should go and leave you to the rest of your day. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. We will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZappedToThe, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.